and a good Sunday evening. If you're on the East Coast, a good late Sunday afternoon out here on the West Coast. Happy Father's Day to everybody all over this great country of ours. Welcome to this special Sunday edition of Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. Good to have everybody in the house, and once again, to all the dads, a happy Father's Day. Got a loaded lineup as always, but as always, we're gonna start with our missing persons update. So keep your eye on the screen. Here we go. On your screen right now is Giovanna Tyler. Pull the information I have on her up. Good. Giovanna Tyler, if I can also widen her screen for you. Yeah, that ought to do it. Okay, here's what we got going on. The FBI's field office in Seattle, Washington, is asking for the public's assistance in locating Giovanna Tyler. She also goes by the name Jahna, Jahna. She's been missing since April 28, 2004 from Tacoma, Washington. Born February 27, 1975, so which makes her at least a year older than I. She has brown hair, brown eyes, at the time of her disappearance, stands about 5 feet 9 inches tall, weight around 170 pounds. She has a multicolored dragon tattoo on her left shoulder. Giovanna Tyler disappeared from her home in the 2000 block of East Gregory Street in Tacoma, Washington, under suspicious circumstances. She was 29 years old at the time and the mother of 4 children. Giovanna was married but had filed for an order of protection against her husband in August of 2003. In April 2004, her parents reported her missing after they had neither seen nor heard from her in approximately 2 weeks. She has not contacted her family since her disappearance, and investigators have been unable to locate her or any persons who have had contact with her. Giovanna is an American Indian and Alaska Native. She is a Makah tribal member. She has ties to Tacoma and Neah Bay, Washington. Now, this is where everybody. This is where you want to pay attention to all the information that I just gave you, because the FBI is offering a reward of up to $10,000 for information leading to the recovery of Giovanna Tyler and the conviction of those responsible for her disappearance. So, if you have any information regarding Giovanna's whereabouts or any information that can lead to her safe recovery, please do not hesitate. You can call the FBI's toll-free tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI. That's 1-800-225-5324. You can also get in contact with your local FBI office, or you can submit your tips anonymously at tips.fbi.gov. tips.fbi.gov. Any information you can give gives better chance of bringing Giovanna back home safe and sound, reunite her with her parents, and reunite her with her children. Share this message. That way somebody may have some valuable information. And as always, remember, if you see something, say something. That way we can do something. Alright? Let's do everything we can, and let's bring Giovanna Tyler back home safe. Alright, now that we got that part taken care of, I got a week's worth of stories to bring to your attention that went down over the past week. And it starts with Bryant Laundrie. Newly released FBI file on Bryant Laundrie reveals chilling details such as images of weapons, dead animal drawings, and a quote-unquote choke book. Now, even I have to call that weird. Weird. So, this FBI file reveals depths of his deceptive ways. So, what I'm going to do first of all is get set for your viewing eyes. Good. I am going to give you the copyright warning, as I always do. And if you have seen this story with Bryant, Laundrie, and Gabby Petito, and it may trigger your mental health, this is your trigger warning. And as always, at the very end of it, I always say viewer discretion is strongly advised. All right, now that we got all that together, I am going to take myself out.
Gabby Petito was set for the adventure of a lifetime, a trip around the country, seeing amazing things, and living the van life with her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie. And all of this was going to be shared very publicly on social media. But this trip was anything but amazing. It was deadly. Gabby went missing. Brian returned home without her. He said nothing to Gabby's parents. Brian's parents said nothing to Gabby's parents. There was silence. Brian and his parents hired a lawyer. Then Gabby was found murdered, and Brian disappeared. Then the investigation turned into a manhunt for a suspected killer, until Brian was found dead in a swamp, the victim of a gunshot wound believed to be self-inflicted. As all of this played out, there were still many unanswered questions and very little known about the evidence and the killer, Brian Laundrie. Tonight, we will see some of the newly released images, affidavits, and information connected to this case straight from the FBI files as we investigate the tragic murder of Gabby Petito.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us this hour. We're going to go through some of the evidence that has now been released by the FBI related to the Gabby Petito murder. Now, what's important here, there was never a trial in this case. You know, a lot of these cases, you figure out who did it, what they did, you bring them to court, you put them on trial, and the public can see what they did. And then the jury sits in judgment, and then the judge sentences the killer. That didn't happen here because the killer didn't have the guts to show up. The killer went off. He's gone. So a lot of this information that would normally come out during the course of the trial, the litigation, we don't know. And trying to understand the story that so many people became invested in because of this young woman named Gabby Petito. We have some special guests who are joining us as well. Let me bring them in right now. Gabby's father, Vice President of the Gabby Petito Foundation, Joseph Petito, is with us. He's joined by Gabby's stepmom, the foundation's secretary, Tara Petito, and also with him, the president of the Gabby Petito Foundation, Gabby's mom, Nicole Schmidt, is with us. Thank you all for joining us. Nicole, can we start this hour by taking a look at your shirt and then explain to folks who may not know what that means, what it means?
So I wore this shirt during the impact statement reading, and it was because it was a way to say F you, Roberta, in a very subtle way. And while I was reading it, Tara and I both wore them so we could kind of say it without saying it.
Not so subtle. Not so subtle.
Yeah. I mean, listen, she hurt us. She hurt her family. She hurt my daughter. And yeah, we're angry at her.
And as we sit here tonight, one of the things we're going to be talking about is the information that came out from the FBI. And what I'm not clear on is how much information have they shared with you prior to this stuff becoming public? And have you gone through it all? Did all of you want to learn as much as you could about what happened and things that you know, you may not have known prior to the investigation?
No.
So we didn't know anything that came out, I guess, today and was it a couple days ago? We were not aware of any of that. Obviously, Bryant had a lot of mental health issues, and we just wish that he got the help that he needed. There is a suicide hotline. I think it's 988. I actually talked to my kids to make sure that they know that that hotline is available, just to make sure that if you are in those dark places that you need to talk to somebody and get the help that you need. I think it's important for us to all know that that's out there to help.
There's also another number, if I can give it to you. It's the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline. That's 1-800-662-HELP. That's also another area that you can talk to somebody and let them know what's going on, and upstairs, and hopefully get the help that you need to not see something like this happen again.
Mm-hmm.
So for people who watched and you know were invested in finding Gabby and wanted justice for your family eventually and everything else, it goes back to this relationship, because many of us have children. Our children grow up and our children meet people. And sometimes we don't like who they're with, right? For whatever reason. Did any of that exist prior to this? Was there any sort of hesitation from your part that, oh, I don't know about this guy? Or was he able to sort of cover that enough that it didn't really become obvious or even show its face that there was another side to the young man that Gabby was with?
I think hindsight is 20/20. Were there signs that we can look back at? Probably, but not of the mental health issues that were going through his head. None of that. We weren't aware of any of that.
Yeah, and as you saw, he bamboozled the police officers in the video. So he bamboozled all of us. He bamboozled Gabby, and he was really good at that, showing us his good, sweet, kind side. I thought he was a very good, kind person. I didn't see anything that would scare me or freak me out with him.
Yeah, and I don't want to talk much about Moab tonight in the police department for obvious reasons, but that was an observation I think that all of us made at the time. Like, he's speaking, he's kind of taking charge, and again, we're looking at it in 2020 hindsight, whatever. But the way he tries to take control of the situation and the narrative, I thought was indicative of his personality, which was like, oh, I just like nature. I like to play the guitar, but there was something else at play in all this. From the information that you've learned now, was there anything outside of the mental health issues that really surprised you or kind of, you had to take a second look at it and say, oh, wow, I wouldn't even have considered that or thought that?
We didn't get a lot of we got none of the reports that recently came out, and they're difficult to read for us, for obvious reasons. But no, anytime that we've ever had an interaction with Brian, he was always, I would assume, on his best behavior. So we didn't see that side. We didn't see those flags. But now that we know that those flags existed, we're going to try and send that message out there to pay attention to those things and hopefully give people information that wasn't readily available to us at the time, and really push that message out there.
So a couple of things I wanted to talk about here. One of them is a witness who encountered Gabby at a gas station. And this took place on August 27th, 2021, just a few days before. And according to the reports and interviews, the individual he believed to be Gabby went into the gas station to ask for directions to Yellowstone, told the attendant they were going to camp in every national park, but then locked herself in the bathroom and was heard to be crying for a few moments.
Yeah, we don't know if that's true or not. I mean, a lot of witnesses came forward, and you know, I skimmed through this today quickly, and I saw some stuff that could or could not be true. So
You think
I think they were just unconfirmed reports.
So it could be like people trying to inject themselves into what was obviously, you know, the biggest story in the country at the time. I mean,
Could be.
We kind of perused through it.
We just got it today. Actually, my file wouldn't even open, so there was nothing that I could really look into and see. So, I mean, people try to interject themselves.
Or it was just a mistake.
Or yeah, it could have been that. Yeah.
We saw one report showed from August 28th they interacted with Gabby or saw Gabby, and we know that can't be true. So,
But it also they were just trying to help. Maybe they thought they saw her. Maybe, you know, it's definitely a possibility.
there's also a letter from Gabby to Bryant. Would it be okay if I read that? Or do you not want to hear that?
Yeah.
You tell me, okay? Okay.
That's okay.
Brian, you know how much I love you, and I'm writing this with love. Just please stop crying and please stop calling me names because we're a team and I'm here with you. I'm always going to have your back. Sorry I got upset over a dumb piece of paper, but I just wanted to do that with you. You know, really, this is all your fault because you're into all this cool stuff I couldn't quite read that word. I don't know if it was shattered or sheltered from. So just try to understand. Yes, I can be a child sometimes. I know, but it's because you give me this energy and I just love you too much, like so much it hurts. So you in pain is killing me. I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm frustrated. There's not more I can do. So as I read that, what are you hearing as I read that?
It sounds like somebody who's brainwashed in a domestic violence situation. It sounds like somebody who has very low self-esteem, who doesn't believe in themselves, and they're believing what they're told about themselves. She's begging him for, him to love her and apologizing for something that she's done. So yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible.
A lot of things when it comes to domestic violence, you see her taking the accountability or even the blame when the other person doesn't. That's just indicative of how this issue just escalates and just grows from there. And
having seen those videos of him, I can picture him like taking the position and crying and blaming her, right? Like, you're hurting me, when it's the opposite. It's like gaslighting. It's unreal. Mm-hmm. So
it's easy to take the blame when you don't want to have the what's coming if she doesn't. The consequences were probably even worse. So again, assumptions, but based on the things that we saw, read, it's just the same thing over and over. And her story is not unlike thousands of others before.
That's why we started the foundation, so we can help others and stop this from happening.
And the foundation has some events coming up, right? What do you have coming up?
Nice, man. That's what I'm talking about.
Say.
Yeah.
I know we have a couple things coming. There's a golf outing coming up in June, later this month.
So there's a golf outing coming up Friday. Unfortunately, right now, ticket sales have stopped, but we do have an amazing raffle. It's a CrimeCon tickets. It's 2 tickets to CrimeCon 2025. VIP gold passes. Yep. 2 nights at the Gaylord Rockies. So we will definitely be there. A CrimeCon is a wonderful event. It creates a lot of awareness. People come from all different places. looking for answers for themselves. They have missing flyers everywhere. So it is an amazing event. It's $25. CrimeCon donated these tickets for us to give away. 100% of the proceeds go to our foundation to help fight our mission.
We actually also hear that, again, it's a rumor that the hotel might actually have been sold out on the blocks that they had with that. So this is 2 VIP gold tickets and 2-night hotel stay. So in CrimeCon, I was apprehensive about going the first time, and we've gone 2 years in a row. And it's amazing to see the support system that CrimeCon offers to others when it comes to advocacy and just storytelling and ways to protect yourself or get out of certain situations. That huge missing person wall, it really is just great to see it. My assumptions were way off, and it really is a great event, and we hope to be part of that for many years to come.
You can get your tickets at our website, GabbyPetitoFoundation.org.
They're also sponsors at the event, so they're supporting us in many ways.
Fantastic. Okay. Everyone is going to stay with us, correct?
Yeah.
All right. When we come back, we're going to go through more of this newly released information from the FBI.
And as they take a break from getting that information out, I'm gonna get this information out once again. If you missed it, these are very important phone numbers you want to have with you, or in case you or someone you love is in dire need of help. If you're thinking, if the suicide and crisis line is available, if you or someone you love is thinking about ending it all, thinking about taking your own life because of whatever the reason, there is help. You can call or text the number 988 to the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. Again, that number is 988. If you're having problems with substance abuse, and if you're having trouble with substance abuse, mental health, or both, I mean, one thing we always say here, we want to protect your mental health. My wife always promotes her product, and she's one of the quickest one to tell you to protect your mental health. If you need the help, you're asked to call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Hotline. That number is 1-800-622-HELP. 1-800-622-4357. And if you're in a situation and you want to get out of the situation, you do not have to be a statistic. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is here. The help is available. All you have to do is make the call. The number is 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233. All the numbers that I've given you, they're available 24 hours a day, and they speak well over 100 and some odd languages. So if you need the help, you can get the help. Now we're going to go right back to Vinnie Politan, closing arguments, and the Petito family as they go over the FBI documents to see just how deceptive Bryant Laundrie truly was.
This week,
we're getting you all ready for the...
Hello, and good morning. It is really nice and sunny today. It's only 10 o'clock in the morning, but it rained all afternoon yesterday.
Oh my God! The 10 is just coming in on me. The wind is so bad.
You see, this was supposed to be part of the adventure, right? You travel the van life, you're going around the country seeing amazing things, and we know what ended up happening to Gabby Petito. And I think it was part of that adventure that I think, really captivated the nation so much because she was like doing what so many people want to do. I just want to see everything. I just want to see the world. I want to taste it. I want to be there. I want to experience it. And what she experienced was evil in the end. So the FBI has now released a bunch of information, and I want to go through some of it with you right now. And there's a lot. Electronics that were seized, an iPhone, GoPro, cameras, various camera equipments, batteries, SIM cards, flash drives. You would expect to find that, right? Because they were doing a lot of social media work. Items from their trip, the patches from various national parks, travel brochure. You're going around, you're seeing it all. Images from surveillance. This is significant. It's Bryant Laundrie, the killer, with the van at a gas station, and this is after the murder, on his way back. Then there were the books that Bryant Laundrie apparently had. No Country for Old Men, The Watchtower, Choke, The Road. Then there's also the search from his room and some of the things that they found in his room. A hollowed out book and a wad of cash. Like, is there ever an innocent explanation for something like that? Unless you don't want it to get stolen. He's got the big wad of cash. What was that for? Then weapons and ammo. Brass knuckles, a box of ammunition, some more ammunition, and a handgun owner's, some manuals that were found as well. Then you've got a crossbow and some arrows, some more of the weapons that were found. I don't know if we have that or not. There we do. Crossbows, arrows. And of course, they found some of Gabby's stuff as well, her belongings. One of Gabby's, a shirt, and then some more of the personal items as well, like a hairbrush, computer, chargers, a bag of markers, and even more, they found Gabby's notebook and the letter that we read to you, the letter from Gabby to Brian as well. And then some drawings made by Brian. There's one of the drawings. Minotaur being shot by an arrow. What does that mean? Also, trust no one. Something else that's in his artwork. And then a series of handwritten notes and journal entries also found. And amongst the items and information that was revealed today. Let's bring back in our special guests, Joseph Petito, Tara Petito, and Nicole Schmidt, three of Gabby's parents. So as this stuff is being revealed, not easy. What are you thinking right now, Joe?
A lot that I probably can't say, but it's just a shame that some of the stuff that he had going on upstairs just didn't get the attention that it needed, so this particular situation didn't happen. And it happens a lot, I mean, here are the facts that we figured out with domestic violence. You want to lower the murder rate, help domestic violence. You want to, help the suicide rate, help domestic violence. You want to help the drug abuse and alcohol addiction, rate, help domestic violence. You want to help, all these things all stem from domestic violence.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And mental health, it all goes back to mental health. I mean, I don't know.
Sorry for the noise in the background. We have a lot of people staying here. I apologize.
That's okay. That is fine. Nicole, did his parents know about this? Do we know if his parents knew about all the things he was dealing with and going through?
I don't know what they knew and didn't know. I feel like, how do you not know something like that's going on with your child, and how do you not get help for them? But again, I don't know for sure. If they did know, it's a shame on them. And if they didn't, we just don't know if they did. So,
How much?
I think there was that school. It was at that school shooting where the parents are being held accountable, right? So I mean that wouldn't be up for us to determine, but
yeah,
let them figure that out.
It's a shame. It really is.
How much of a role do you think them spending so much time together in those close quarters played in all of this? And
it wasn't the first time that they did that. They went on a previous trip as well. So I don't think that played as much as a factor as people believe it to be. At least my opinion is that she just was done with the relationship and wanted to leave, and that's how we got to where we are. Because now you take the power away from that person, and when you take that power away, they'll do anything they can to regain it, or just make sure no one else can have it. So
I think she was broken down at that point, and it was time to end things, because Gabby was a strong person. You know, people might not see her as a weak girl, but she was very strong and tough. So it was shocking to us that she was even going through this.
And the worst time to leave a domestic violent relationship is when you leave.
It's the most dangerous.
It's the most dangerous time is when you leave.
not just for the victim as well, also for law enforcement. When law enforcement gets called to the domestic violence calls, it is the most dangerous call for them too. So that's why we're advocating for that lethality assessment in all the states. We're just going to keep knocking them down one by one.
And what was the status of the relationship? Were they ever engaged? Were they not engaged? What was going on there?
They were engaged, but they had put that on hold to take the trip. They weren't really rushing or worried about it. That's what I was told. So, there wasn't even a ring. It was just they were engaged, and that was it.
Another special guest star tonight. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get him to go around. I'm sorry.
Go.
Go.
Live
now.
TV, right?
It's called real life. That's what it's called, real life.
Real life. I apologize. I was trying to get him to go the other way.
That's okay.
He interrupted a live the other day.
We have the dog.
Good dog. Yeah.
All right. As we run out of time tonight, final word tonight on people who are thinking about Gabby tonight. What do you want them to be thinking about?
For me, it's if there's a trip, take it. I mean, don't stop your life. Live life to the fullest. Gabby loved to go on adventures. It's something that it was in her. She loved to see you laugh and dance. So just keep living life and try to be as happy as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have forever. So and be kind to everyone, because you do not know what someone is going through. So, show kindness. You might change somebody's life just by giving them a compliment. And, definitely mental health issues need to be taken care of. We all need to work together.
And if you have a friend that comes to you with some issues, don't judge. Try to help and be patient and kind and help them get the resources, hold their hand and be there for them.
Any last words, Joe?
No, you guys have the substance abuse and mental health hotline, the suicide hotline 988, the national domestic violence hotline 1-800-799-SAFE. These are numbers that not only do you need to know, but make sure your children know. And the one thing we realize more than anything else is a lot of people don't know what resources they have at their disposal, and these are numbers that could significantly help reduce some tragedies. So. Please write them down. Please talk to your loved ones about them so they know about them.
All right. Big thank you to all three of you. I know this stuff was just coming out, and we appreciate it. The one thing I think that's amazing about what you all have done is you have faced the tragedy that no one ever wants to face, and you've come out the other side, and you are helping others. And I know everyone at home appreciates that so much. I know they're all going to go on to the GabbyPetitoFoundation.org, and they're all going to enter that raffle so we can see who's going to make it out.
So just so everybody that's watching too, it's without you, these stories couldn't be elevated to where they are. So, as great as Vinny is, and as great as, other, social media, influencers are and stuff like that, without the people going on to their lives or tuning into this network, those stories don't get elevated. So thank you to everyone that helps push those stories out. Continue, hit those likes and subscribes for those people so you can see those things go out.
Together we can.
Together we can.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Get back to real life now. Take care of everybody else in the house. We appreciate it. When we come back, folks, we're going to continue going through all of what we're learning from the FBI. We're going to bring in our experts to give their analysis.
And a huge thank you to the Petito family for their reflection on Gabby, her life, and being able to just get all this information out, whether it's substance abuse, mental health, suicide, crisis, ISIS. And again, I gotta put that information out for you. If you or someone you love is even thinking about taking their own life, and you're crying out for help, don't waste another minute. The Suicide and Crisis Line has people online 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, waiting to hear from you. All you gotta do is call or text the number 988. That's the Suicide and Crisis Hotline, 988. If you're dealing with substance abuse or mental health issues and you need help, again, help is available 24 hours a day. Just call 1-800-622, HELP. 1-800-622-HELP. 1-800-622-4357. And if you're in a situation as far as domestic violence is concerned, and you're looking for a way out, you need a safe way out, call this number. This is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. That number is 1-800-799-SAFE. 1-800-799-7233. Help is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in more than over 100 languages. It's all there for you. Don't become a statistic. If you need the help, call those numbers and get the help you're seeking. Now I'm going to take this back. Let's let Vinny and those experts weigh in on a lot of what the FBI is.
Tend to have a lot of anxiety and stress.
I have a lot of anxiety.
And what's his name? Is it Brian? Is he usually pretty patient with you?
Yeah, but it just makes me upset. I know that he definitely gets frustrated with me a lot because I have a lot of anxiety and he definitely has anxiety too.
Oh, that could be a bad combo if you both have anxiety. I have anxiety too, and my girlfriend, my girlfriend's really, really calm. She has a way of taking my anxiety and bringing it down. But my ex-wife, that's why she's my ex-wife, I'm just sharing, I know it's a little personal, but to help you understand, we would feed off each other's anxiety and it would spiral. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter how much I loved her. It may be bad for your soul.
And I get it, Moab police, they're, trying to help the situation in some way, but the way you help the situation is by following the guidelines when you're talking about domestic violence and keeping these two apart. I believe a life could have been saved if they just followed what the law is. But they didn't. There's a lawsuit about that. We'll keep an eye on it. In the meantime, we're learning a lot more about the killer, Bryant Laundrie. FBI files have been released and made public. You saw Gabby's parents on with us. They hadn't even seen some of the stuff yet. Let me put this up. This is a journal entry from Bryant Laundrie, but look at the date. The date is October 26, 2018, okay? It's been 2 years of waking up completely unsure. It's all too much for me. Yeah, I sound like a beep, but it really has been every day for 2 years. About a year ago, I went into a type of mania where I was smashing holes in the wall with my head, kicking through paintings, tearing whatever I was working on, pouring gasoline on myself to burn alive, but getting the lighter wet, parking out in Murderland, listening to Mac DeMarco with a gun to my head, wrestling alligators. I wanted to die, and the weird thing is nothing's changed, but the timer is running down. Nothing will change. No weight will be lifted. I have no options because I am a ghost, a shell. I never had a home or a family. I want to bring in some experts to help with their analysis. Let's bring in our experts. Joining me, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon and forensic psychiatrist, trial expert witness, and columnist Dr. Carol Lieberman. Dr. Lieberman, I'll begin with you. This is October 26, 2018. This is a troubled, disturbed person who clearly needs help. And he finished here, I never had a home or a family. Well, who are those two people that got him a lawyer?
Yes, they're the people who made him into who he was. Very sad, but not just sad. I mean, yes, he may have had some mental illness. You know, I mean, he talks about mania. We don't know if anybody if a professional ever diagnosed him as manic depressive, for example. But he's sociopathic, he's paranoid. There are lots of, descriptive words that you can use for him. But he was a ticking time bomb, and he was suicidal all the time that he was with Gabby, and he brought her down with him. And she, he's the quintessential bad boy, the OJ type, and the, domestic violence abusive type. And Gabby, like women who go for bad boys, saw the little hurt boy inside of him and wanted to take care of him, wanted to make him feel better. And she sacrificed herself in doing that.
Bobby, the other part of his personality, and it came out a lot in those videos, the body camera videos from Moab, is that when he was confronted, because people had witnessed domestic violence, he kind of slid in there, tried to take control of the situation and the story, and all of a sudden, at the end of the day, he had the police believing that he was the victim.
Yeah, one of the things about these guys is they're master manipulators, right? They manipulate the women into these situations where the women don't actually leave, even at the years of abuse. And shame on them if they allowed themselves, as the police officers allow themselves to be manipulated by someone who is a manipulative person. Cops should be better than that. They should know that. I dealt with many sociopathic type personalities in my day in the FBI. And so you learn how to deal with them. You learn how to spot them, certainly, and then you learn how to deal with them. And it's a shame in this case that they allowed themselves apparently to be a little bit swayed or a lot swayed in that situation. They didn't follow their own procedures. They had training. They had an outside agency, an outside company come in, train them up on this stuff, and they just didn't follow the procedures that they had on their books, and it ended tragically.
Some interesting things that were found and released by the FBI. We got a Bryant Laundrie crossbow and arrows. We take a look at those. Are you concerned at all, Bobby, about this, or you think this is kind of hunting thing, or does this indicate anything else to you? You would normally chalk it up to hunting, but, bow hunters are a very specific type of people, and they usually, do that a lot because you have to be proficient at it or you wind up injuring an animal and not successful. And most hunters never want to injure an animal. So, but I also believe that there was some possible arrows found in the vicinity of Gabby's body or somewhere in that park where she was found. And so I would wonder if there's a tie to the arrows found in the house. I would think that if that were the case, if in fact there were arrows found in the woods up somewhere in the proximity of her where her body was found, that they did a match and see if they were similar or the same arrows that were found in the house. I want to show you a drawing, Dr. Carol Lieberman, that was found. This was again, this is from Bryant Laundrie. It's, I guess, half bull, half man. With an arrow in the stomach? What are you seeing?
Yes. He is that man. He feels as though he's hurt, he's wounded, he's a wounded man. And, I don't know that may have something to do with Gabby because, she's written letters to him too where, she talks about being sad, seeing him hurt. But I think that really relates even more to his childhood, to how he felt all his life, really, as a wounded man. it's interesting. The FBI documents are not only letters and diary entries and so on, but also a description by witnesses of their travels. And what struck me was how close they were, how close she could have been to getting help. For example, in 2 instances, they talk about her crying in a bathroom in a gas station. People knew that she was hurting. It wasn't just the Moab police. Of course, they are responsible for, they're supposed to be the ones to know about this and to do something about it. But even other places where people saw that she was crying, she could have asked for help along the way. And it's so sad. A lot of times these women just protect the bad boy.
Yeah. It's difficult to fathom because we all imagine our own children, those of us who have daughters, being in a situation like that where the self-esteem maybe goes a little bit lower and then this guy is controlling them. Now, there was a series of books that were found as well, a book list. I'm going to read some of them and descriptions of what they're about. You got No Country for Old Men, written by Cormac McCarthy. Crime thriller follows the aftermath of a drug deal gone awry in a remote section of Southwest Texas. It's an incredibly violent story that follows the killings of a sociopathic hitman. Choke, written by Chuck Palahniuk. This story follows a protagonist, a sex addict and con man who devises a scheme of pretending to choke at upscale restaurants in order to take money from those who save him. Interesting there, right? The Road, also by Cormac McCarthy, post-apocalyptic novel that follows the grueling journey of a son and a father as they travel months across the destroyed, barren American landscape after almost all human life was wiped out, taking that trip across the country. And then this one, The Watchtower, an illustrated religious magazine published by the New York-based Jehovah's Witnesses. Bobby, anything there jump out to you?
Well, other than The Watchtower, which I was familiar with when I lived in New York, and some of the people, the rest of them all seem violent or manipulative. The con man one, but the rest of them, I saw the movie The Road and No Country for Old Men, obviously, extremely violent movies, male protagonists, males carrying violent personalities. So that's what jumps out at me. These are violent books. These are not feel-good books. These are not like light summer reading books. These are heavy books. They were heavy movies, and they're heavy books to get into. And when you're reading and diving into that kind of literature over and over again, it says something about you, I think.
Yeah, speaks volumes about Brian Laundrie. Okay, our guests, our experts are staying with us, Bobby Chacon and Dr. Carol Liederman. When we come back, we'll continue to go through some of these documents as we continue to learn more about the murder of Gabby Petito and the man who murdered her, Brian Laundrie.
So far throughout that interview with the experts, they've been saying the same thing, that Brian Laundrie needed a lot of help mentally. I mean, just from a lot of what he wrote, suffering through his own mania, and it's a lot to take in, a lot to unpack. And eventually, it'll be unpacked, not just from this evidence the FBI is brought in, but there's a lot of stuff that's not even being told. But right now, we're gonna go right back to Benny Politan and these experts, and we're gonna see what else we can unpack.
One of the most successful true crime TV shows.
See the full schedule.
This is Files on Brian Laundrie.
WXL.com.
More from the FBI files on Brian Laundrie. Brass knuckles and ammo found together. Welcome back. This is some of the stuff you would have seen perhaps at the trial or during the course of the litigation of the case that you're not going to see because there was no trial. This is Brian Laundrie died in a swamp. Bobby Chacon, Dr. Carol Lieberman still with us. Bobby, what do you think of the brass knuckles there?
You know, it's hard to tell. I try not to ascribe too much to this stuff. It's in a house that's occupied by multiple people. We don't know how long they've been there, you know, how long they've had them, who they really belong to, if they were ever actually used. It could, you know, so, you know, certainly it wasn't used in the commission of the crime against Gabby. And so, you know, some of this stuff is odd to be there, but it's hard to say. Like you said, if there was a trial, we might be looking at this more and in a different light. But in light of what happened, you know, this stuff has minimal value in my mind.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, I want to show you a picture here, another one of the drawings by Brian Laundrie. And this one, I'm calling it the Trust No One drawing. What are you seeing there, and can you glean from it? What questions would you have for Brian Laundrie if you were shown this and you were sitting down with him?
Well, I would ask him to tell me what it means to him, but I mean, it's been, you know, trust no one. It speaks to his paranoia, number one. And then the other part has been described as a skull, a knife on the skull. It's a little hard to make it out. But, you know, they did find, even before this, they found in his house various drawings and so on. I mean, this is what he used to do. And he was a loner, you know. He was an outcast. But I think what we could see, too, is that, you know, trust no one. And so it was very hard for him to trust Gabby. And in fact, as the trip was going on, I think he was beginning to, you know, trust her less and less, beginning to realize that perhaps when this trip is over, she's going to leave me. You know, there's with what the FBI just released, there's this story, or in a diary entry, he wrote that he described a nightmare. The ocean pours out of her blue eyes and the fire is out. With one word, the pain is gone. Brian, oh, how sweet she is to say we should get together. But you know, when you walk out that door, she'll be gone forever again. You're blank back in the car, haunted by the eyes you'll never look into again. The pain burns fresh because you know it's just tonight. You wake up and you're both free. So I think he thought from the very beginning that she was too good for him. You know, they were separated literally by train tracks. They were each on different sides of the tracks, and she was on the more affluent side, and he was, you know, on the less affluent, the poorer side. So I think just in general that he always had this fear that she was going to leave him. And, you know, when you have that fear, you get angry at the other person because you're sort of imagining, yes, you're going to leave me. Why are you going to leave me? And your mind takes that down the road, and you get angry at the person.
Bobby, when this was happening and when Gabby was found, and it's obvious that she was killed, she was murdered, it was homicide. And then Brian Laundrie goes missing, and then there was the search, and then there was the silence from the parents. In investigating this case, to get to the truth of who knew what when, how would you do that if the parents aren't cooperating? How would you attempt to figure out what exactly happened here? And to get to the bottom of all that transpired?
Well, that's one of the reasons you do the search warrant, to see if you can match up anything, because we don't know what people knew or didn't know, right? That's the big question. And you may never know. You can't get into people's minds. You can't force your way in there, only if they're willing to talk to you, and only then if they're willing to tell you the truth. So what you try to do is you try to match up any pieces of physical evidence to what you know actually happened. You know, we knew he was found in a certain place, in possession of certain things, and you know now certain other things are in the house. So you try to match up the physical pieces of evidence to the things that you know what happened, because you can't always rely on what people tell you, even if they are willing to talk to you. In this case, they weren't. So it's very difficult. So you just have to you have to go along and see what physically you have, because physical evidence doesn't lie. It is what it is. You attach some meaning to it based on the other things that you find in the case. But you know, even in the trove of writings that he had. If you see the search warrant application, there's an FBI agent there that casts some doubt as to when some of this stuff was written. In fact, they cast out on the dates that Bryant used in some of these writings. Like, well, he put this date, but we really don't think he wrote it on that date. So even to the end, he may have been manipulating things even in some of these writings.
Wow. We have about 20 seconds, Dr. Carol Lieberman. Is there a what's the big lesson from this entire saga and tragedy involving Gabby?
The big lesson is to be more careful in who you date, and especially who you take trips across the America with. But to not just keep deluding yourself or convincing yourself because you think you love someone. As she wrote in her letter, she was madly in love with him. She said, "I love you too much." When you start to feel that you love somebody too much, that's a little red flag, and you have to start looking whether you're seeing the person realistically.
Dr. Carol Lieberman, Bobby Chacon, two incredible experts. Appreciate your valuable time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And thanks to those two experts, Dr. Carol Lieberman, Dr. Bobby Chacon, the former FBI agent, of course, Court TV's own Vinny Politan for that whole entire segment regarding Gabby Petito, Bryant Laundrie, the FBI files, and I think there was so much to unpack with that, but like Vinny said at the outset, normally a case like this would have gone to court. It would have gone to court. It would have we would have had the prosecutor take the case. We would have had Bryant Laundrie as a defendant, but that never happened because he took himself out. So even though there's a lot of what we do know, there's still a lot more that we don't know. All right, let's move right along to our next case. And all right, the DA who prosecuted Barry Morphew will face a disciplinary hearing. For more on that, we're going to go straight to one of my other favorite people at Court TV, Julie Grant.
This morning, we're shining a spotlight on the Suzanne Morphew homicide case and the Colorado District Attorney who was in charge of prosecuting Morphew's husband. District Attorney Linda Stanley is facing a disciplinary hearing right now and possible disbarment for allegedly mishandling the case. Wife and mother Suzanne Morphew vanished in 2020 after going out for a bike ride. Her husband Barry arrested a year later after pleading for his wife's return.
Oh, Suzanne, if anyone is out there that can hear this, that has you, please, we'll do whatever it takes to bring you back. We love you, we miss you, your girls need you.
But charges against Barry Morphew were ultimately dismissed. The district attorney, Stanley, now being called an absent leader who failed to steer the case and let it crash. Morphew's remains found in September. An autopsy labeled her death as a homicide, but says she died by undetermined means. No arrests have been made, and there is the potential for Barry Morphew to still be charged. So let's talk about where things stand with District Attorney Linda Stanley. We have a very special guest we're so happy to have back on the show. We haven't seen him in far too long. A former district attorney in the state of Colorado. He's also a law professor, did some very high-profile cases, the Aurora Theater shooting case, the STEM case, the Columbine cases. He's also a member of our military. We're happy to have the brilliant George Brockler back on Opening Statements. Good morning, my friend. Nice to see you.
It is so magical to be back here, Julie. Thanks for putting me back on.
Oh, of course. We missed you. You were busy. You were doing radio shows at the same time and all that stuff. So, George, Linda Stanley, let's get to it here. What do you think of this? Does this have merit, this allegation that she should be disbarred for mishandling the case?
Well, it does. I think that folks ought to know there are 3 buckets of things that are going on here that are going to be litigated, and they're taking place this week and next week at the Attorney Regulation Council hearing. It's a public hearing, but there's 3 things going on here. One, Linda engaged in a considerable amount of pretrial publicity, and there are rules out there, Julie. I know you know them. They exist in just about every state. They're called ethical rules, rules of professional conduct. 3.6 and 3.8 are the ones that are applicable here. And the gist of them is this: if you are going to point your finger at someone in the community and drag them into the courtroom and give them their right under the 6th Amendment to a jury trial, you can't poison the well. You can't start talking about the case and talking about them in a way that would make it difficult to prosecute. In fact, she had done it so much with a podcaster and I think another woman who'd had a YouTube or cable channel that the original judge on the case moved the jurisdiction out of the county in which the crime occurred, finding that there had been substantial prejudice to the defendant. That's one big bucket. The other bucket is this thing was mismanaged from an expert disclosure standpoint. And folks ought to know that, you know, when the prosecution brings evidence forward, they've got to give that evidence over to the defense. That's the only way this system works, is that's the only way to make it fair. And they had failed on multiple occasions to turn over expert reports, expert resumes, the kinds of stuff that you would associate with just about any criminal case. Judge then sanctioned them by starting to remove those experts. That is very rare. It is rare that you would screw up so much a judge would say, now you don't get to use that evidence in your case. And then the third thing is, and this is the most egregious, Julie, is that after having certain rulings against them by the judge that was ultimately assigned to this case, they got together with Linda Stanley's leadership on this piece alone and said, let's go investigate him for domestic violence. And they reached out to his ex-wife and started a conversation about, hey, was this guy abusive? I've never seen anything like this with the judge before.
Oh, my. George, thank you for all of that. This is bad. This is bad. We'll see what happens as this hearing progresses. In the meantime, the case involving Suzanne Morphew is still outstanding. Your thoughts on whether we're going to see Barry Morphew recharged?
You know, that's a good one. It's a great question. The big event that took place here within the last year or so, it was the discovery of Suzanne's body. That's a big deal because in no body cases you've covered many times, very, very challenging when you're trying to go after first-degree murder, and that's what took place here. I think the good news for the opportunity to get to justice on this case is that because of where the body was found versus where we think the crime was probably committed, and all of this stuff going on with Linda Stanley, the DA changed. It's now in the 12th Judicial District, which is next door to the 11th Judicial District, and they'll be handling this case. You know, my advice had been, not to them, no one had solicited my advice, but my advice had been, listen, given everything that's gone on here, do yourselves a favor, impanel a grand jury and slow roll this thing. There's no statute of limitations for first-degree murder. It's been done wrong so far up to this point. Let's give it a chance to do it right and try to get justice for her.
That's a good piece of advice right there. Getting to keep the focus on getting justice for Barry Morphew. But in the meantime, Linda Stanley's got to face his disciplinary committee. What's going to become of her? We'll have to keep a watch out and see what happens next. Next up, a case I covered a while back regarding a former Georgia pageant queen. She's now indicted in the death of her boyfriend's toddler. Yep. A former Georgia pageant queen accused of murdering an 18-month-old boy has been indicted on multiple charges. Trinity Madison Poag, 18 years of age, as you see here. If I can pull this pull this up where you can see her photo. Give you a good glimpse of her. There you go. There's our defendant. There you go. All right, now back to the article. She was arrested on January 19th, 5 days after Romeo Angeles was found unresponsive in her college dorm room on Georgia Southwestern State University's campus. Angeles was also referred to as Jackson, later died at a hospital. Fellow student Lily Waterman previously told WRDW, quote, "That kid was crying for a long time until everyone said that suddenly it just stopped and no one knew what happened." Angeles was identified as the son of Poag's boyfriend, according to WALB. An indictment obtained by Court TV accuses Poag of inflicting blunt force trauma to Angeles' head and torso. The indictment states Poag caused serious disfigurement to his liver and rendered his brain useless. In total, Poag is facing 6 charges: malice murder, cruelty to children in the first degree, 2 counts of felony murder, and 2 counts of aggravated battery. According to WALB, Poag was crowned Miss Donaldsonville in 2023. Donaldsonville is approximately 4 hours south of Atlanta, near the Alabama, Florida, Georgia borderlines. Early County News reported that Poag was stripped of her title in March following her arrest. She was released from jail in February after posting a $75,000 bond. Now, all I can say is, if she is found guilty, in my opinion, there isn't a hole deep enough to bury this woman in. Your boyfriend left you in charge of his child, and that's how you do it? You're pretty much, you're good as done. Next up, Pamela Smart. Everybody should be familiar with her case, right? If you're not, let me help you out. That's a lot to take in. 2 hours 57 minutes worth. The article tells us flat out that Pamela Smart, who's serving a life sentence in prison for plotting with her teenage student to have her husband killed in 1990, accepted full responsibility for his death for the first time in a videotaped statement released Tuesday as part of her latest sentence reduction request. The 56-year-old Smart was a 22-year-old high school media coordinator when she began an affair with a 15-year-old boy who later shot and killed her husband, Gregory Smart. He was freed in 2015 after serving a 25-year sentence, though she denied knowledge of the plot. She was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and other crimes and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Smart said in a statement that she began to, quote, dig deeper into her own responsibility through her experience in a writing group that encouraged us to go beyond and to spaces that we didn't want to be in. For me, that was really hard because going into those places, in those spaces, is where I found myself responsible for something I desperately didn't want to be responsible for. My husband's murder, she said, her voice quavering. I had to acknowledge for the first time in my own mind and my own heart how responsible I was, because I had deflected blame all the time I think almost as if it was a coping mechanism, because the truth of being so responsible was very difficult to me. She asked to have an honest conversation with New Hampshire's 5-member executive council, which approves state contracts and appointees to the courts and state agencies.
There will be lots of clouds, with a high of 70 degrees Fahrenheit and a low of 49 degrees.
And that was my weather update, courtesy of Echo, aka
This might answer your question. Buzz is a terrestrial radio station paired with an FM translator, broadcasting a sports format with local news, weather, and sports interspersed.
Echo, stop. Anyway, moving on. She was asked to have an honest conversation with New Hampshire's 5-member executive council, which approves state contracts and appointees to the courts and state agencies, and with Governor Chris Sununu. The council rejected her latest request in 2022, and Smart appealed to the state Supreme Court, which dismissed her petition last year. Val Bryant, cousin of Gregory Smart, told the Associated Press that Smart danced around it and accepted full responsibility without admitting the facts around what made her fully responsible. Bryant noted that Smart didn't mention her cousin's name in the video, not even once. Messages seeking comment on the petition and statement were sent to the council members, Sununu, and the Attorney General's office. Smart is serving time at Bedford Hills Correctional Facility in Westchester County, New York. She has earned 2 master's degrees behind bars and has tutored fellow inmates, been ordained as a minister, and been a part of an inmate liaison committee. She says she is remorseful and has been rehabilitated. The trial was a media circus and one of America's first high-profile cases about a sexual affair between a school staff member and a student. Joyce Maynard wrote To Die For in 1992, drawing from the Smart case. That inspired a 1995 film of the same name, starring Nicole Kidman and Joaquin Phoenix. The killer, William Flynn, and 3 other teens cooperated with prosecutors. They served shorter sentences and have been released. As far as Linda Smart and her taking full responsibility, she's only getting half of it done. Sure, you took full responsibility, but you still have to own up to what you're taking full responsibility for. And if you're not, then why take full responsibility? Why just say why open your mouth and say, okay, I did it? Just a thought. Just a thought. All right. Guys, I'm about to put you on Monster Alert. Yeah. Let me take you to Vinnie Politan first of all before I go right into the article.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board and look at this face and this reaction, this smile, this smirk. This woman, Bianca Ellis, is accused of killing a 3-year-old boy in a grocery store parking lot in an attack. Appearing in court, not seeming too unhappy to be there. Absolutely cold, shocking, trying to figure out why she did it. But at the end of the day, a 3-year-old boy, who would do that? Why would you do that? Right now, they're calling it a random attack. We will obviously continue to follow this as developments continue to come
Yeah, a random attack. An Ohio woman accused of murdering a young child in a random attack outside of a grocery store appeared in court on this past Monday, where her arraignment was forced to restart multiple times due to her behavior. Bianca Ellis is accused of allegedly fatally stabbing 3-year-old Elijah Wood in the parking lot of a Giant Eagle grocery store in North Olmsted, Ohio, last week. Or the week before, in this case, the week before. According to authorities, Ellis allegedly stole 2 knives from the Volunteers of America store and then walked next door to the grocery store where she spotted Margot Wood pushing her 3-year-old son Julian in a cart. Investigators say Wood was returning to her car when Ellis ran at them with a knife and stabbed the child. When Margot tried to pull the child to safety, Ellis allegedly stabbed her as well. Margot was injured but survived the attack. Authorities have said they believe the victims were randomly targeted. After her appearance in court last week, Bianca Ellis's case was moved to the Cuyahoga County, where it twice ground to a halt during her arraignment on Monday. The first time Judge Nancy Russo spoke to Ellis, she refused to acknowledge the judge and answer questions. In the second video appearance before the judge, she said she did not know if her indictment had been read to her. Let's take a look. If it'll play.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ashley Kerr on behalf of Miss Ellis.
Excuse me, I'm going to answer the questions.
Oh, sure.
Miss Ellis? Miss Ellis? Miss Ellis?
Yeah.
Please raise your head.
Where is it coming from?
I just need to ask you a few questions. I need to make sure you understand them. Do you have an attorney?
I'm looking for one.
Okay. Do you have the money or means to hire an attorney?
Repeat that.
Do you have the money or means to hire an attorney?
Possible.
Okay. Have you received and read your indictment?
I don't know.
You don't know if you've received it? Have you received it? Ma'am, just tell me whether or not you've received it, please. Miss Ellis, we'll be out of here in a few minutes to just answer these questions. Miss Ellis, have you received your indictment?
What's her name? What's her name? The judge, what's the judge's name?
Russo.
Russo?
That's right.
Russo with an R?
Have you received and read your indictment? Yes or no? If you haven't received it, I'm going to send it over there. So you need to tell me that. Miss Ellis, why don't you want to answer these questions? All right, we'll come back to her when she's ready to talk to me.
Your Honor, could I just let the court know our office does represent Miss Ellis on another case, and
I understand.
There are some mental health issues, and I do believe they.
I'll come back to her.
Okay, just to clarify, I do believe she hasn't been on.
I will come back to her.
Okay.
Okay, Judge Russo said based on the indictment, the case could become a death penalty case. An attorney attempted to waive the right to arraignment, but the judge responded and said, "This could be a capital murder case. I don't think that's appropriate." Let's take a look at this video.
Miss Ellis? Miss Ellis?
Thank you.
Have you received the indictment?
I don't know.
Would you like me to send it to you or read it out loud to you?
Thank you. Thank you.
That's not responsive. Would you like me to do either of those things? Miss Ellis?
Miss Ellis?
Do you understand on the indictment that the state has reserved the right to add the death penalty? Do you understand that? Have you read that?
ASAP.
What's ASAP?
What's video court?
Your Honor, we would like to enter not guilty plea for Ms. Ellis. We would like to waive the reading of the charges, waive the defects in time and manner of service. As I said, our office has reached out to the jail to get mental health services for Ms. Ellis. They were working with her on a previous case, and our social worker has gotten involved. We would like to ask that counsel be appointed and that the public defender's office be one of those two attorneys. And ask for a reasonable bond.
Has she received the indictment? Have you discussed it with her?
I personally have not, but I do know attorneys from my office did go see her last week, and that there were some notable mental health issues.
Did they go with the indictment?
That I don't know.
Well, then how am I expected to arraign her?
I would like to waive that time period for her.
This could be a capital murder case. I don't think that's appropriate. So if somebody wants to go over there now and go over it with her, I'll hold it. So send somebody over there.
I'll reach out to the office.
Okay, we'll come back.
For Ellis's third attempt at arraignment, the court brought her downstairs to face the judge in person. Ellis refused to acknowledge her indictment and stated that she did not want to read it or have her attorney read it to her. Russo read the indictment out loud, and Ellis could be seen smiling while listening to the allegations leveled against her. When Judge Russo asked if Ellis was going to plead not guilty, at first she giggled and said "C" instead of responding with a yes or no. She eventually said yes.
Hello, Miss Ellis. Do you have an attorney? You do? Do you have the money or means to hire an attorney? Have you received your indictment? Okay. Have you read it? You have not read it. Okay. We have a copy here. You can read it. You don't want to read it. Are you willing to accept that the public defender has read it to you? I'm sorry. You asked her not to. Well, but she did read it to you, correct? She didn't read it to you. Okay, well, we can read it in open court. Okay. It's a 10-count indictment. Count 1 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did purposely and with prior calculation and design caused the death of J.W. 10/29/2020. The state of Ohio reserves the right to seek a superseding indictment containing the appropriate 2929.04A aggravating circumstances specifications. And so you understand that means the state is reserving its right to add a death penalty specification. Count 2 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, that the defendant did purposely cause the death of J.W. 10/29/2020. Count 3 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did cause the death of J.W., date of birth 10/29/2020, as a proximate result of the offender committing or attempting to commit an offense of violence that is a felony of the first or second degree, to wit, felonious assault, Ohio Revised Code Section 2903.11A1, and or endangering children in violation of Ohio Revised Code Section 2919.22B2. Count 4 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did knowingly cause serious physical harm to J.W. on date of birth 10/29/2020. Count 5 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did torture or cruelly abuse J.W., date of birth 10/29/2020, a child under 18 years of age, and furthermore, the violation resulted in serious physical harm to J.W., date of birth 10/29/2020. Count 6 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did attempt to purposely cause the death of Margot Wood. Count 7 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did attempt to cause the death of Margot Wood as a proximate result of the offender committing or attempting to commit an offense of violence that is a felony of the first or second degree, to wit, felonious assault, Ohio Revised Code Section 2901.11A1. Count 8 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did knowingly cause serious physical harm to Margot Wood. Count 9 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did, knowing that an official proceeding or investigation was in progress or was about to be or likely to be instituted, alter, destroy, steal, or remove any record, document, or thing with the purpose to impair its value or availability as evidence in such proceeding or investigation. Count 10 alleges that on or about June 3rd, 2024, the defendant did with purpose to deprive the owner, Volunteers of America store, of property or services, to wit, knives, knowingly obtain or exert control over either the property or services without the consent of the owner or the person authorized to give consent. I have now read the indictment to you. Do you wish to enter a plea of not guilty?
C.
Pardon me?
C.
What's saying me? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. I understand the victims are represented and they want to make a comment before I step on. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, sir. Could you start with your name?
My name is Jared Wood, father of deceased, husband of Margot. Your Honor, that day, 1 week ago, she took everything from us. There's nothing that could ever replace my son, or anything that my wife and I, even our other kids, are going through. It's horrendous. I really wish no bail, period, or extend it to the max limit possible that you can, at the very least. Just do whatever you can to keep this monster behind bars.
Thank you, sir. Is there anything else you would like to say?
That'll be it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there anything else before I pronounce bond?
Your Honor, we would just ask that you consider assigning the public defender's office, recognizing this is not our number. We did represent her at the first appearance unit. I did meet with her on Friday. We have had contact with her family and begun working on the case. Thank you, Your Honor.
When the original bond was set out of Union Court, the bond was set at $1 million, and it was before the passing of one of the alleged victims. I do not believe that bond is appropriate given the changing circumstances and the allegations that are contained in this indictment. Bond is set at $5 million, cash, surety, or property. GPS, no contact with any surviving victim or victim's family, DNA order. Judges John Russo, pretrial June 17th at 9 a.m. I'll assign counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Your Honor.
Before Russo set bail, Julian Wood's father, Jared Wood, spoke on behalf of his family. As you heard earlier, he said, Your Honor, the day 1 week ago, she took everything from us. There was nothing that could ever replace my son or anything that my wife or I or even my other kids are going through. It's horrendous. Do whatever you can to keep this monster behind bars, and ask the judge to deny bail. Russo set bail for Ellis the highest she could, $5 million. Last week, her bond was set in Rocky River at $1 million. During that proceeding, Ellis also refused to lift her head. To recap, according to the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office, a grand jury indicted Ellis on the following counts: 1 count of aggravated murder, 2 counts of murder, 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of felonious assault, 1 count of endangering children, 1 count of tampering with evidence, and 1 count of misdemeanor theft. Now you see why I put this story out as a monster alert. It was simply because of her behavior, her actions in the courtroom. She didn't care 1 iota of what was happening in the courtroom. She didn't care about that 3-year-old's life. She didn't care about the mom's life. Could it be that she may have mental issues? Maybe. But also, you gotta look at it from how she acted in the courtroom as well. She was giggling and smiling as the charges were being read. I have never seen a defendant do anything like that. I'll keep you guys posted when more details in this case come up. All right, first verdict watch of the week. Hunter Biden, son of the 46th President of the United States. This was breaking news that he was found guilty in a federal gun trial on all counts.
Welcome back. We're getting breaking news into our newsroom this morning. The jury in Delaware has reached a verdict in the federal trial for President Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden. Just moments ago, this jury found him guilty of all 3 felony charges. Hunter Biden was found guilty of lying to a federally licensed gun dealer, also of making a false claim on an application by saying he was not a drug user, and illegally having that gun for 11 days. Hunter Biden stared straight ahead and showed little emotion as the verdict was read. According to those in the courtroom, he faces up to 25 years in prison when he is sentenced. Still with us, Deputy Public Defender for LA County, Philip Dubé is with us. Philip, what do you think is the likelihood that there will be time behind bars for Hunter Biden, given that he is a first offender?
From the very beginning, I predicted that this is a non-prison case. This is a man who truly needs detox, rehab, care, treatment, and that sort of stuff, and maybe wraparound services. Now, I will add that keep in mind that these offenses occurred back in 2018, and ample time has gone by for him to get clean and change his ways and get off the dope. So it's possible that he may no longer even need rehab. But nonetheless, there are still courses and therapeutic mechanisms that he can avail himself to so that he doesn't at least relapse. And certainly it would be part of an alternative sentence in lieu of prison. And I think he would be a good candidate. I think the world can rest assured that Hunter Biden is not going to reoffend. He's not violent. The only thing he did really is harm himself.
Well, we will continue to follow that case and see when that sentencing will be.
And when we get word as to when that sentence will be, you'll get the information here at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. Next up, Young Thug YSL RICO trial. His lawyer, Young Thug's lawyer, was found in contempt of court and ordered to spend 20 days, 10 weekends in jail. Let's go to Julie. I'm going to take you to Julie Grant, and she's going to take us on and what a ride that has been, too.
It looks like Grammy Award-winning rapper Young Thug and his lawyer are going to be spending time behind bars together. Take a look at what happened in court.
What this is coercion, witness intimidation, ex parte communications that we have a constitutional right to be present for. So I understand that you're upset towards me, but I don't know what I did.
Mr. Steele, I still want to know, how did you come upon this information? Who told you?
What I want to know is, why wasn't I there? Why
Sir, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't tell me who tell me who this information was.
I don't want to be held in contempt. Well, then answer that question.
The judge said that attorney Bryant Steele violated court regulations by obtaining information about a private meeting between the judge, prosecutors, and witness Kenneth Copeland. When Steele would not reveal his source, he was held in contempt of court and taken off to jail. The sentence means weekends behind bars starting this Friday for a total of 20 days. So was the judge right to do this? Let's bring in our power panel and talk about it now. Randy Kessler, I want to begin with you, please. As you practice in this courthouse, as a matter of fact, you were in a different courtroom at the time that this happened, and lawyer Bryant Steele was taken off to jail. Do you think the judge was right to do this?
Well, first of all, I know both of these folks very well. I know Judge Glanville and I know Bryant Steele. Second of all, yes, I was in another matter, so I was occupied with that matter. Of course, there was a buzz around the courthouse because this was going on, so I did hear about it, and of course, I read about it. It's hard to second guess, right? And I'm very uncomfortable talking about it because I do know and respect and like both of these lawyers and judge very much. The question is, in my mind, and Bryant Steele is an upstanding lawyer who will go to whatever lengths he needs to, honestly and ethically, to defend his client. If he didn't want to answer the question, he believes he had a legal basis not to do so. The other thing is, when you bring a contempt charge, in general, and again, I was not there and I don't know, but in general, you have a right to know what are you being charged with and a chance to defend yourself and maybe to hire counsel to defend you in that contempt matter. So procedurally, that may have been a glitch. I don't know. I wasn't there. The judge has a right to ask questions. Judge Glanville, I'm sure, didn't take this step lightly. I'm sure he thought he had a good basis for doing what he did. And I'm sure Bryant Steele had a basis for doing what he did. I want to see the outcome. I want to learn more about it. But it's fascinating. From the optics of it, it looks like Bryant Steele was defending his ground, and the judge was defending his ground, and it's a match. Judges often win, but in the long run, the question is, will Young Thug benefit from his lawyer's behavior and his lawyer's defense of him? And I think Bryant Steele showing he's going to do what it takes to defend his client.
I have to say, Bryant Steele is my hero. That attorney did exactly what he should do, in my opinion, by protecting the privileged client-attorney communications, for standing up and saying to the judge, why did you have an ex parte meeting, which means with just one party, the prosecution and this witness? That's wrong. Matthew Timpanik, drawing on your legal experience, when you heard ex parte, I mean, for me, it was like my eyebrows went up as soon as I heard that. Your thoughts?
It was just baffling to actually hear that, because with that case, every judge, if you're a judge, very likely you were an attorney for many years before you became a judge, and you know that you cannot have a conversation with a party, especially the district attorney, about a case involving YSL Young Thug without the defense attorney present. It is basic lawyering 101. And sitting up there on the bench and being like, okay, well, instead of I was wrong by doing that, how did you find out? What is your source? That he's not going to tell you. Mr. Steele's not going to tell you. And to actually think that you were right by doing that, that was just beyond astonishing. I honestly, reviewing the order and knowing the facts associated with it and actually watching it live, I don't think this survives appellate scrutiny. I just don't.
You're right, Matt. I couldn't agree with you more. Claudia King, last word to you. I mean, he's sending Bryant Steele to jail. Bryant Steele has an outstanding reputation, as Randy noted. He is a formidable opponent in the courtroom, but he's known as, being honest, and he's defending his client with his privileged communications, and the judge jails him. How does this wind up in the end? Randy made the point, okay, the judge may have won the battle because it's his courtroom, but this is a war defending this Grammy Award-winning rapper. In the end, do you think Bryant Steele may have just solidified his reputation as being a tremendous legal fighter for justice?
Not all heroes wear capes, and I think Bryant Steele showed us that he will go to any lengths to properly defend his client. I don't think he did anything wrong, and I feel like the judge, is playing a don't look over here, but look over here. So we're supposed to ignore that he has done something likely that he should not have done, and then is going to follow it up by putting this attorney in jail. I don't think it's a good look for the judge, and I think Bryant Steele will win the war.
I'm with you. Perfect note to end on. Claudia King, thank you for that.
Now, normally, if I were to do I would do one of those opening statements by Julie Grant at the end of this. But what I'm gonna do a little something different. I'm gonna bring her opinion on Bryant Steele, and then I'm gonna follow that up with Judge Ashley Wilcott regarding the same thing from the bench. First, we're going to go to Julie Grant and her kudos to Bryant Steele for transcending this, for transcending what she calls a dumpster fire trial. Let's see. That's it. 132. Okay, that's close enough. All right, guys, here we go.
Young Thug's lawyer is my hero. Attorney Bryant Steele, I tip my hat to you, counselor, for the unwavering advocacy you have shown your client. You stood up for what was right. You didn't back down, and you even went to jail to protect your client. Bravo. That is advocacy. Ex parte communications are prohibited under the rules of professional conduct. Ex parte means for one side only. And Young Thug's attorney questioned the judge about why he held an ex parte meeting with the prosecutor and a witness. The judge, though, was most interested in who told Bryant Steele. And Bryant Steele wouldn't give up the privileged client communications, so the judge had him taken off to jail. Bryant Steele did the right thing. He should wear that jail sentence like a badge of honor. He'll be serving it on the weekends, 10 weekends straight in the Cobb County, Georgia jail, where his client, Jeffrey Lamar Williams, aka Young Thug, is being held, so they can continue working on the defense for the Grammy Award-winning rapper. Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis is accusing Williams of running Atlanta's most violent street gang, Young Slime Life. The case has been a dumpster fire. It took 10 months just to pick the jury. There was a witness who was high as a kite on the stand, a prosecutor who allegedly made herself a witness in the case, and the recent defense allegations of witness coercion by the state. And we can't forget this latest embarrassment, jailing reputable attorney Bryant Steele. It just further hammers home truly what a circus this case is. If these alleged gangbangers are so dangerous, why is the prosecutor's office handing out plea offers of probation? Shouldn't they be locked up if they're that violent? And are this talented, rich rapper and his record label really the major safety concern for the city of Atlanta? Or is this RICO case involving a famous person a practice round for the RICO case the same district attorney has brought against former President Donald Trump? Suffice it to say, I think it's time that some people learn when to come in and out of the rain.
And that was Julie Grant's statement regarding that. Now let's get another perspective from the bench and Judge Ashley Wilcott.
But before we go, there are new developments out of Georgia where the lawyer for rapper Young Thug has been ordered to spend the next 10 weekends behind bars. Defense attorney Bryant Steele is currently representing Young Thug on charges including violation of Georgia's anti-racketeering and gang laws. Yesterday, Steele addressed the judge in open court saying he had been informed of a meeting between the judge, prosecutors, and an important state witness that had been held in the judge's chambers earlier that morning. Take a listen.
What this is coercion, witness intimidation, ex parte communications that we have a constitutional right to be present for. So I understand that you're upset towards me, but I don't know what I did.
Mr. Steele, I still want to know, how did you come upon this information? Who told you?
What I want to know is why wasn't I there?
Why, sir, I'm going to hold you in contempt if you don't tell me who this. Tell me who this information
I don't want to be held in contempt. Well, I'm not answering that question.
When Steele refused to reveal his source for that meeting, the judge did hold him in contempt of court and sentenced him to the next 10 weekends behind bars. But good for Bryant Steele. He said, well, can I at least be housed with the defendant so we can prep for trial? Now, here's my thought on this from the bench. Defense attorneys all over the nation are clamoring for justice on this one. It's fairly unbelievable that an ex parte hearing of any kind was held during an ongoing trial against not just one defendant, but also co-defendants. An ex parte hearing means that not all of the parties are present, and a hearing was held for one party in the absence of the other party. Generally, lawyers are forbidden to meet with the judge ex parte. Judges are not allowed to talk to parties without opposing counsel present, with a few limited exceptions. For instance, in Georgia, Superior Court Rule 4.1 provides in part that judges shall not engage in ex parte communications by interested parties or their attorneys in pending litigation. There's no similar rule of which I'm aware that allows a judge to meet ex parte with a witness. Now, having said that, there are some times specifically allowed when a judge can meet with individuals ex parte. For instance, when the state wants a material witness warrant for an absent witness, a judge may grant that request without notifying the defense. Meeting with a witness with one party without notifying anyone else, to me, seems like a reach with ethical and professional considerations. Now, as to whether or not the defense attorney was required to reveal his source, I don't know, because Steele was arguing the communication was confidential under Superior Court Rule 1.6, but he was repeatedly interrupted by the judge, and from what I've seen, I don't know that Steele had a full opportunity to explain why he should not be held in contempt.
And that is coming straight from the bench with Judge Ashley Wilcott. Thank you to her and to Julie Grant regarding Bryant Steele and him stepping up for his client, Grammy winner Young Thug. All right, let's move onward. We have an international manhunt for two adults who believed to have a missing child. Okay. Hey, I'll just start this off, and then I'm gonna leave the rest in hands of Benny Politan and his experts. Local and federal investigators are working together to search for a father, the toddler he's accused of abducting, and his fiancée in a search that has spanned multiple states and now Mexico. Police in Pullman, Washington announced an arrest warrant for Aaron Daniel Ong, age 21, on charges of custodial interference after he failed to return his 2-year-old daughter, Soraya Ong Harmon, to her mother at a custody exchange on June 3rd. Pullman police said that Ong, who lives in Moscow, Idaho, that's a familiar place because we got another case in that area too. Lives in Moscow, Idaho, was seen buying camping equipment and a Montana map book, and was initially believed to have taken his daughter to Montana. But police say their investigation revealed that Ong never went to Montana and instead headed toward Mexico. So we're gonna see what we're able to find out in this case and how we can get Soraya Ong Harmon back home with her mom and back home.
This is little Soraya Ong, a 2-year-old girl with young parents who are no longer together as a couple. Soraya's mom is Samara. She was living in Pullman, Washington. Soraya's dad is Aaron, who was living close by in Moscow, Idaho. Samara and Aaron shared custody, but when Aaron didn't show up for an exchange drop-off with Soraya, her mom got worried and called police. And now there's a manhunt for Aaron and a search underway for little Soraya. Tonight, we will bring in our experts with all the latest in this search, including a major twist that could turn this case on its head as we investigate the search for little Soraya.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And this is a story. This thing is breaking now. There is a child who is missing. Let me introduce you to little Soraya. Take a look. Oh my goodness. Look at those eyes. Look at those big brown eyes, the smile, the happiness. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now this young child has young parents. Here's some images and pictures of her with her mom, Samara, and mom is happy. You look at mom, you know, just having that bundle of joy in her arms. And that's what children want. Children want to be with their moms. Yeah, they want to be with their dads too, but they really, really love their moms. You know that, I know that, we all know that. So I want you to take a look now, just so you understand what is happening now, that this child is not with her mother. This child is missing. This is what she's missing.
Yuck, your fingers are nasty. Yucky. Dinosaur. Yeah. Pig. Oh, you get the dinosaur kiss. You're riding a dinosaur.
So this is what's missing right now. This mother and daughter are not together. And I understand there are custody battles, there are issues. It's often very complicated, very layered. But we have rules and we have processes for all of this to be handled, and it should always be handled in the best interest of the child. And how on earth is it in the best interest of this child to not be with her mom tonight, and for her mom to not know where she is? So what happened in the middle of this custody battle? This little girl's mom and dad are not together. They're not a couple. That's fine. It happens millions and millions and millions of times that a mom and a dad aren't together for whatever reason. They share an incredible gift like that, like little Soraya. So this is from the Pullman, Washington police. The Pullman Police Department is working with the Moscow Police Department. Sound familiar? Yeah, the same two outfits that were working together in the Idaho students case. And the FBI are investigating the report of a missing 2-year-old female, Soraya Ung Harmon. Soraya was last seen with her father, Aaron Ung, of Moscow on May 29th. The two reportedly traveled to Montana on a fishing trip but have not returned. Soraya was scheduled to be returned to her mother, shared custody, in Pullman on June 3rd of 2024. They did not appear at the scheduled custody exchange. Aaron Ung may be traveling with 21-year-old Nadia Cole, formerly a Pullman resident. Nadia Cole was reported missing to the Port of Seattle Police Department on May 29th, 2024. So now you've got 2 young adults and a child that we're looking for. Let's begin with Aaron Ung, the father, 5'9", 130. Look at the face. Look at the face, folks. He's wanted, approximately 135 pounds, black hair, brown eyes, wanted for first-degree custodial interference, and there's a belief that he may be headed to or in Mexico, but we don't know. Could be anywhere. With him, Nadia Cole. This is her missing poster. 21 years old, 5'9", green eyes, blonde hair, went missing the same day as baby Soraya, was last seen at the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. So what's the connection between these two? Take a look at the photo. Engaged. got engaged in November. So you've got Aaron and his new fiance missing with his baby. But it's not her baby. The baby has a mom. So what's the situation with Nadia Cole? Well, take a look. We have some airport surveillance video. She was about to fly to Europe with her family to celebrate graduating college. She's at the airport with her family. She leaves her bags at the terminal, said she was going to the bathroom, and then left the airport and has been missing since. So what exactly is going on here? Let's try to get some more information. Let me bring in our special guests. The maternal grandmother of little baby Soraya. Samara's mother, Shauna Harmon, is with us. And the founder of Crime Scene Collective, Alina Smith, is with us as well, who is helping families everywhere. Thank you both for being here. Shauna, how are you holding up? How's your daughter holding up? And what do you know at this hour?
I mean, we're doing the best we can. We're not doing well. We're not sleeping much or eating much. We're doing a lot of praying, a lot of posting and trying to share. We really don't know much right now at all.
Was there any indication that he was going to take off with your granddaughter?
No, nothing that I'm aware of. It seemed like a normal custodial exchange. He was a little bit early, which was somewhat out of character when he picked her up and in a hurry, but Samara thought he was maybe late for a job or something and didn't really think anything of it. And I mean, the time without her daughter is always hard for her, and so she was obviously upset, as she always is, but there was nothing out of the ordinary.
Do you have a message for him tonight?
I mean, we don't want anything bad for you, Aaron. We don't want anything bad for Nadia. We want everyone home safe. That's all we care about. If you need help, if you're stuck somewhere, if you're afraid, I mean, we'll support you even. We just need to know that she's okay, and we just want her home.
Alina Smith, Crime Scene Collective, what else are you learning about where Aaron could have gone and the situation with Nadia and how we end up in this position where this child is not with her mother?
Hi, Benny. You know, it's such a bizarre case. Nadia was set to go on a three-week vacation with her family to Europe, and 3 hours, so that was around 3:18 that she received a distress call or something, and she kind of looked like something was wrong, and she took off from the airport. But then that's about 4.5 hours from Pullman. So, but 3 hours later, he's picking up the baby, and you know, we're trying to figure out like how did they meet together at this point, you know. And then there's the, you know, information they went to Montana, but we really think that was just to like make everybody start looking in Montana when they were headed, you know, either to Mexico or Canada at this point. And as of last Friday, we have information that the car that belongs to the Ong family was spotted in Mexico. So that's kind of shifted the search. But, you know, once it goes international, we don't know where that can go with like how the search, how much more intense it gets and how much more, you know, what more hands they need on it, and if that's even going to be possible at this point.
Shauna, is there any connection between Aaron's family and Mexico?
We believe that there might be. It is possible that they have family in Mexico. I don't know for sure.
And what is law enforcement? Are they keeping you up to date with what's going on in this investigation? And do you have any indication that there's getting cooperation from officials down in Mexico?
We have been being updated that they're looking everywhere. They're not just looking in Mexico. Again, the car was seen crossing the border. I don't know when. They didn't give me that information. But to my knowledge, we don't know exactly who was in the car. So we don't know if that might be another diversion tactic. So they're looking everywhere. They're not giving us a ton of information. We've been pretty active on social media, and I don't think that they want anything getting out that could jeopardize the case.
That's understandable. But on the other hand, everyone needs to know who we're looking for and what we're looking for here.
Yes.
Because everyone on social media, everyone watching this program could provide significant information here. Alina, are you hearing anything from law enforcement one way or the other?
No, definitely not from law enforcement. We, excuse me, we have a Facebook group dedicated for the search for Soraya and, you know, to see if in fact Aaron and Nadia are missing. But, you know, there's no proof that the three of them are together. There's no, like Shauna said, we don't know if they're actually together. There's no proof that they were in that vehicle. We also have some leads that we're seen headed to Canada. And there's somebody that has footage somewhere, but they're not having any assistance from law enforcement to track down that footage. And they're saying there's so much of it and they request help and they're just not getting the feedback that we feel that they should be getting and the hands on it that they should be getting. And there's also another lead where, you know, somebody's buying hundreds and hundreds of dollars of camping equipment, you know, and it was like a, you know, younger couple with a baby. And we're just like, come on, you know, where's the CCTV? It's something. Like, it's been too long. We need to get this baby home to her mother. Like, you know, it's just, we don't know what's happening. This is urgent, beyond urgent.
Absolutely. Okay, Shauna and Alina are going to stay with us. We're going to talk about some bizarre accusations coming from the fugitive's family. But right now, please take a look at these two faces. Yeah, a nice-looking couple. But he is a fugitive right now. He is wanted, and a child is missing.
I'm stopping it right here just so I can pull this back to give you the information needed. To help bring that sweet little 2-year-old home. Let's see. All right, there's that. That's. Okay. Now that I back this up to the point, this is the suspect we're looking for. Aaron Ung stands at the time of his disappearance, stands about 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighs approximately 135 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He's wanted for custodial interference in the first degree. This is Nadia Erica Cold, age 21, missing as of May 29, 2024. She stands about 5 feet 9 inches tall, weighs around 130 pounds, with green eyes and long blonde hair. According to this, she was last seen leaving SeaTac Airport at 3:08 p.m. on May 29, 2024. The timestamp on the security camera photo near rail platform shows 3:08 and 56 seconds. She was last seen wearing a black North Face jacket, a sage green hoodie, black yoga pants, tan shoulder bag, and white Converse sneakers, possibly wearing prescription glasses. She's from Port Angeles, Washington, and a recent graduate from Washington State University. There's a $1,000 reward for information leading to her safe return home. right, look on the left hand side of your screen. This is Soraya Ong Harmon. She's 2 years of age. She has a birthmark on her left forearm. She's been missing since May 29th of 2024. And if I can get it, I'm gonna say that piece for the end of that. And if there it is. They're saying that the suspect was last seen in a 2014 black Cadillac XTS with Idaho license plate IL 5147U. Now remember, we have 3 people we're looking for. We're looking for a 2-year-old girl, her father, and his new fiancée. If you have any information regarding the whereabouts of Aaron Ung, Nadia Erica Cole, or Soraya Ong Harmon, please do not hesitate. You're asked to contact the Pullman Police Department. If you want to submit your tips anonymously, you're asked to submit those tips at pullman-wa.gov. Police tips at pullman-wa.gov. You're also asked to call the FBI's toll-free tip line, 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-225-5324. But whatever you do, if you see something, say something. That way we can do something and bring little Soraya home. Now we're gonna go right back to Vinnie Politan. We're gonna see what other information we can glean.
From this side angle, you can see Aaron's face too. From this side angle, you can see Aaron's face too.
So that's Aaron Ung with his daughter, right? And yeah, a father should be with his daughter, but a father should not be absconding from the law and absconding from justice. And that's what's happening in this case. Little Soraya is missing. They're looking for dad, they're looking for dad's fiancée, and they're looking for this child. And while all this is happening, the fugitive's family, with this bizarre, somewhat inappropriate press release from the family of the fugitive, I want to read part of this, okay? This is coming from the family. So this is coming from the grandparents on the father's side. Aaron Ung and Nadia Cole are extremely responsible, resourceful, smart young adults with excellent work ethics. Aaron is an operations manager responsible for teams across multiple business divisions with a goal to join the National Guard. Good luck with that now. And Nadia, a Washington State University graduate with a high GPA, was studying for her law degree. Okay, yeah, you should study a criminal law degree at this point to represent your fiancé. They both have high moral standards, a strong sense of justice, right and wrong. Both are very compassionate and loving individuals. Soraya, our most precious granddaughter, is in very capable hands. Our family's observation on the inside is that they acted on Soraya because they felt she was in imminent danger. Our family observed how much Nadia took to loving Soraya and caring for her like her own daughter. Not your daughter. Before their gone missing status, both Aaron and Nadia observed Soraya coming to their home and stinking like weed, dog urine, smelling dirty like a garbage truck, and unkempt. Soraya would be received with dirty nails, pen marks, and rashes in her private areas. We hope this clears up any misinformation on these matters in the press. This same statement can be found, okay. Let's start with that little piece right there. And still with us is Alina Smith and Shauna Harmon. Shauna is grandma for little Soraya. I wanted to give you an opportunity because when I read this, first of all, it's off the wall bonkers, but wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to some of these accusations and give me your reaction to them talking about how great Aaron the fugitive is. What do you think, Shauna?
On a personal level, I don't want to say anything bad about Aaron. I don't think that this decision was a wise one. I don't think they were in fear for Soraya. She was definitely not in imminent danger from her mother or anyone on this side of the family. Aaron's very young, very impressionable. I do not think that he just decided to rescue his daughter from this made-up, terrible situation.
Alina, have you had any contact with the with this family from the other side? Are they saying anything else other than this,
Well,
this
the
press
page
release?
the page that we created to follow this, they are on there. So it's the brother and the sister of Aaron, and they post and comment all the time. It's pretty much the same thing. They just want to disparage Samara and, just say they put all of this stuff on the page before they even put the statement out. And so, a lot of this stuff is not a surprise to myself because they were trying to, already leave these little breadcrumbs everywhere as they were posting. And I would remove the stuff or I would just mute them because, I'm happy for them to read what everybody thinks about them, but there's no reason for them to be able to comment about it. So, yeah, they just try to keep pushing this narrative, but we just don't understand, how they feel that this is going to turn out in their benefit at all,
It's not.
This is ridiculous. They say they have a lawyer. How does a lawyer allow this?
I've never seen, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen anything even close to this. And Shauna makes a great point. He's young, they're young, and I understand that. And I think Shauna is taking the right approach to all this, by the way, tonight in the way. But I wanted to read another accusation coming from the Ungs here. The baby would have unusual behavior, such as saying go away when her diaper was being changed. There is suspicion that Soraya may be getting molested. Samara's half-brother is reputed to be a pedophile, and he spends a significant amount of time with Samara, whom he raped when they were young. Shauna, the accusation's out there. I wanted to give you an opportunity, if you wanted to respond to that. Don't feel obligated, whatever you're comfortable with.
I will say that it's very unfortunate that Samara's trauma is being used against her. Her half-brother is not around Soraya for obvious reasons. Our entire family is very protective of the children in it. When Samara was victimized as a child, I'm the one that turned it in. I would not turn a blind eye to my granddaughter being molested, and she was displaying strange behaviors and saying things, and I actually called Child Protective Services because of that back in March. And it was when she would come back from her father's house with weird infections and stuff and freaking out with diaper changes. That was never happening before.
So you're saying what they're saying is they're basically gaslighting. They're accusing your side of the family of what was happening when she was with the other side of the family.
I don't know that. I know that I saw those behaviors too, and I called Child Protective Services because I don't care who it was. I would want her safe from whoever it was, no matter what. If they were seeing those things as well, they could have called too. I mean, I think that that's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. And how would you describe, because custody battles are always difficult, it's never easy, but how did the two families get along or not get along? How bad was it, or was this unexpected, this development?
The development itself was unexpected. I mean, their split obviously wasn't great. I don't have a huge problem with most people. I can pretty much understand where they're coming from. I don't have negative feelings toward the Ongs. I think that they're misguided. I think what they're doing is pretty gross, but maybe they're scared. Maybe they're trying to get out in front of whatever this is and trying to sway public opinion to save their son. I can't fault them for that. Samara has always tried to maintain a relationship between Soraya and her father. It's very important to her. It's very important to our whole family. The people that Soraya loves should always be in her life unless they're a danger. The custody battle itself, it wasn't, I mean, they were in a great position. They had lawyers. We had nothing. We did mediation to settle for 50-50. We were terrified to go up against them with no representation. And so that's what Samara ultimately settled for, because they were going for full custody with no visitation for Samara.
And Shauna, how do you think Soraya is responding to all of this? Like, what do you know your granddaughter, how do you think she's handling this?
I know Soraya loves her dad, and I believe Soraya loves Nadia. One of the things that we pray for is that she doesn't even know this is happening, that she thinks she's on an adventure with her dad. I'm sure she misses her mom. She's very close to her mom, who she calls Mommy, by the way. I know that was in there too. I'm sorry. We're just hoping she doesn't really know.
Alina, this is such a delicate situation that we're in, and what Sean is telling me, like, they have a lawyer, and Samara didn't, like, and this is the response to whatever, you know, the problems were. It doesn't make sense to me. What's your sense, Alina? Do you think, do you get any sense from anywhere that they may just kind of understand the public pressure and then say, okay, let's just end this and let's bring her home and try to figure this out?
Yeah, I think they need law enforcement to put out a message and be like, all right, listen, here's where you need to go. You're going to be okay. Like, maybe give them, you know, some, like, a safe spot or some message to them that, listen, if this didn't go, like, you just meant to, like, go away for a couple of weeks and send some message like, hey, I want the kid or something, or the baby, you know, but it got too far and now you don't know how to come back from this. And, you know, now you're scared because now you have a warrant out and you're a fugitive. You know, how do we bring them back and let them know that, you know, you're going to be okay when you come back? Not everybody's going to be in trouble. We'll make this work out. Let's just get this baby back home, you know? That's what we want to get that message out to all three of them. I know the baby's not going to understand, but, you know, we want her to know that everybody's looking for her too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Alina Smith, Crime Scene Collective, doing great work. Thank you so much. Shauna, our thoughts are with you. And we will continue to cover this story and keep those images in front of everyone, so we can have you back on this show when Soraya comes back and you've had some time to reconnect with her and tell us how well she's doing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks. Please, you're going to see this all over social media. Share the images. The thing that scares me a little bit is that this couple is so young. They're young also, and they're out there caring for a child while on the run. This doesn't make sense. This is not good for this child. We'll bring in our experts next.
Thanks to Vinnie Politan and Soraya Ong's grandmother for putting out that information. I want to reiterate again, if you have any information regarding the whereabouts of Aaron Ong, Nadia Cole, or 2-year-old Soraya Ong, you're asked to email your tips anonymously at policetips@pullman-wa.gov, or call the FBI's toll-free tip line at 1-800-CALL-FBI, 1-800-225-5324. Or you can submit your tips anonymously through the FBI at tips.fbi.gov. Again, I can't stress this enough. If you see something, say something. That way we can do something to bring little Soraya home safe. That's the end game. All right. We're gonna move on from this case with that family in our prayers, and we're gonna go to something I just covered on last week. Sarah Boone. Now, once again, Sarah Boone cannot keep an attorney. Oh, come on, Outlaw! You can't tell me there's a criminal defendant that can't keep an attorney. Oh yes, I can tell you that, and you're getting wind of it right here.
Her name's Karen.
I call her defendant Karen, Lady Outlaw.
Unfortunately, her name is Karen.
No, it's not.
What is it?
Sarah Boone.
Oh, well, she's acting like a Karen.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from the Lady Outlaw first. She's acting like a Karen. Here's the breakdown. She says she wasn't looking to replace her attorney, but appears that Sarah Boone may have no choice in the matter, as her attorney has asked to be removed from her case. What? Boone is charged with the second-degree murder of her boyfriend, Jorge Torres, who died after Boone zipped him into a suitcase.
What?
Yes. While the cause of his death is not in question, Boone has maintained that Torres' death was accidental and the result of a game of hide-and-seek that went wrong after a night of drinking. Days after a hearing on June 7, where she represented Boone, Patricia Cashman is now the 8th attorney. Not the first, not the second, not even the 5th, the 8th attorney to file a motion asking to withdraw from the case. The request, filed Tuesday, cites, get ready for this one, ladies and gentlemen, irreconcilable differences, including, but not limited to, ethical considerations. While Cashman represented Boone on Friday at the hearing, it was clear there were problems when Boone gave the judge a 58-page letter and complained about what she described as ongoing issues with her representation. Boone told the judge on Friday, "I've never experienced anyone like Miss Cashman. She will change her disposition and her attitude towards me. And it didn't matter how dumbed down I am to myself to try to coexist with her. I've even come up with a solution to have a pretend judge in interactions with her so she would try to hopefully treat me appropriately and professionally, which she does not do. Boone has had complaints about nearly all of her previous attorneys, with her sixth attorney, Frank Bankowitz, withdrawn from the case after she called him a dud and a buffoon. Called him a dud and a buffoon.
Oh.
That was her sixth attorney.
Oh. Well, she shouldn't need 6 attorneys. How many attorneys does it take to convict Sarah?
Well, we haven't even got to the court yet. Her seventh attorney withdrew after Boone sent a number of letters to the judge complaining about her ability to talk to counsel. Good grief. My sentiment exactly. Cashman said at last Friday's hearing she had spent hours with her client, even accepting collect calls, but that Boone had refused to cooperate with her. Quote, I spent over 20 hours going through her questions, going through her lists. When I tried to update her with regard to the depositions that I took recently, she opted to exit the jail conference. When I tried to review some things with regard to discovery as to things I wanted to make sure she was aware of, she walked out. End quote. Boone admitted to walking out of the meetings, but denied wanting a new attorney, instead asking the judge to just let her know please be nice to me and have a welcoming attitude. I will save my commentary for the end of this article. Cashman seemed to acknowledge the potential for this scenario last Friday. I can't spend all my time defending what I'm doing and at the same time be effectively preparing a case for trial. Cashman suggested the judge either tell Boone to represent herself or offer one last attorney. The court can only go through so many times with Miss Boone coming to the court and there ending up being irreconcilable differences such that the counsel that you have appointed can't move forward, Cashman said. No hearing on the motion has been scheduled, and Boone's trial is scheduled for October 7th, 2024. Ladies and gentlemen, if I were the judge, I wouldn't even give her the matter to consider having one last attorney. If Sarah Boone wants somebody to coddle her as far as her case goes, if she wants someone to, quote, be nice to her, and while going over her case, the only person that I can see smart enough to handle her own case
would be herself.
Exactly. But, and this is a direct message to Sarah Boone herself, be forewarned. There is a saying. She or he who defends themselves in court has a fool for a client. And last I checked, no criminal defendant, not a one, has ever been successful in defending themselves in a criminal case. So,
Actually looking at you.
huh?
But are they looking at you?
I don't know. I'm just sending out a direct message. So, if it does end up with you having to defend yourself, Good luck with that one, Sarah. You are definitely going to need it. All right. Next up. More information in the Madeline Soto case. Authorities determined that Madeline Soto was strangled to death. According to WFTV investigative reporter Shannon Butler, authorities have determined that Madeline Soto was allegedly strangled by Stephan Stearns, who faces the possibility of the death penalty for her murder. And guys, this is again another one of those cases why I have to bring up the trigger warning first. You're right. This might trigger them. And of course, I gotta cover my own behind. So here's the copyright disclaimer.
Yeah, I don't say nothing.
Exactly. All right. So now we're going to take you directly back to my good friend, my main man,
Politan, thank you so much for joining us here on Closing Arguments. To understand what happened to Madeline Soto, the life that she lived, the hand that she was dealt, will break your heart. Absolutely break your heart. Here she is putting on a smile, one of her last day on earth. It's her 13th birthday party. And what we've learned since, allegations that she had been sexually abused for years by a man that was put into her life by her own mother. Her mother's boyfriend, this man, Stephan Stearns, and his ultra Photoshop filtered picture over there next to Madeline. He's been charged with sexually abusing her. He's been charged with her murder. And now he's been charged or will be facing the death penalty for that murder. I want to put up on the screen what was filed in part by the state of Florida as they are seeking the death penalty. They believe that there are sufficient aggravating circumstances to justify the imposition of the death penalty. The state will be requesting the death penalty should the defendant be convicted in this case. And the aggravating factors that they are citing, the defendant was previously convicted of another felony. There, I believe they're referring to the sexual abuse allegations and all those images that were found on his phone. That trial will happen first. Capital felony was committed during the commission of aggravated child abuse. What does that tell us? The capital felony was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. What does that tell us about what happened to Madeline? And the victim was particularly vulnerable due to her age, or the defendant stood in a position of familial custodial authority. He held himself out as her stepfather, words out of his mouth and out of Madeline's mother's mouth that can now be used against him as an aggravating factor towards the death penalty in this case. So who is this guy? What do we know about him? We don't know a ton, but we've heard him speak in several different contexts. So let's take a moment to listen to the words of the accused child killer, child sex abuser, now facing the death penalty, Stephan Stearns.
She had a happy weekend. She just turned 13. She had her 13th birthday party. She was happy that we were all together here, and she was just very happy. She was a happy kid. She's very sweet. She's a very sweet girl. I dropped her off early. I could have waited longer. She looked okay. She was walking towards the school when I saw her. It was like any other day, so I went on with my day.
Our detectives have determined that Madeline was never dropped off on the morning of February 26th near her school. Instead, we believe she was already dead at the time.
We don't know where she could be, and we're scared. We just want her home. Just not knowing.
So the unknown is killing you.
Yeah, it's like our whole world is upside down.
We have video evidence that shows Stephan Stearns discarding items in a dumpster. Detectives later recovered Madeline's backpack and her school-issued laptop from that dumpster.
You could see the overpass from where it was. So it was on that side, on that stretch of road, and that's where I dropped her off. And she said she was going to go wait for her friends. She was going to find them and hang out and wait for her friends. And I asked if that was going to be okay. She said, yeah, it's fine. Kids get dropped off early enough as it is. It's not totally unusual for that to happen. It's just not usually that early that I drop her off. I do school runs every once in a while for her. I said, okay. Let her out. Have a good day. Love you. Thanks. Love you too. I can't remember the exact spot, but it was around where these communities were. Thank you. So it's like around where these communities were.
Okay.
And it's just like in this stretch, like we could see the overpass down there.
Where's the school?
Just on the other side of the overpass.
2105. So somewhere around here.
So yeah, somewhere, maybe not this one, but the next one possibly is right in this stretch. And we just came down and we drove about halfway down. She was like, that's good right here. Well, I was walking in that direction. She was rifling through her backpack, just looking for something. I thought maybe she was just looking for headphones before she got to walking on.
Yeah.
But she was just kind of, shambling over in that direction. It looked the same as any other morning.
Don't know why they don't do that. Why don't they just kind of like at least give you a blanket,
My core temperature was down. They took it, it was like a degree or two lower than it should have been.
Wow.
Couldn't regulate. Sleeping on bare metal. The first night I was on a concrete floor with a roll of toilet paper for a pillow and nothing else. Begging for a blanket or a pad to sleep on for like 2 days. I think they were supposed to do something like that. Yeah, she brings a lot of joy. She's a very good girl. It definitely doesn't feel the same around here if she's not here. She was so happy too. She was looking forward to my visit here. She was looking forward to us all being together. She was just happy. She was just very happy. I loved her like she was my own. I don't recall us going anywhere last night, but I honestly, at that point, my brain was mush and I was on so many tranquilizers to keep me stable. I was having these rolling panic attacks and breaking down crying, and it was the only way I could get to sleep last night. Not feeling her presence here is... Sorry. It's hard.
I can't stand it when he says she's happy. We know these pictures exist. We know what happened. It's not a mystery. It's not like, oh, we're trying to piece it together. We've got images of what was happening to this child for years. She was not happy. She was not happy. She did not love you. She wanted to go live in the woods to get away from you. All right. Let me bring in our special guest. Joining us tonight in Orlando, Florida, retired judge of the 9th Judicial Circuit, the Honorable Belvin Perry, America's judge. Joining us on the phone tonight, WFTV investigative reporter Shannon Butler. Also joining us in Orlando, editor of the Osceola News-Gazette, Ken Jackson. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Judge, I'll begin with you. How does this change things now that this is a death penalty case? And also, please, let the folks at home know whether or not some judge somewhere in Florida is going to make this guy appear in a courtroom at some point, because it hasn't happened yet.
Vinny, this development, filing of the notice to seek the death penalty, will bring about the possibility of punishing him for the horrific acts that he committed upon this young lady. I will tell you this, that he will be forced to come into the courtroom for what I call major hearings. He will not be allowed just to sit back in his cell and disobey the court's order. They're not going to, force him in there for an arraignment or anything else, but he is about to meet his day of reckoning.
Shannon Butler, some of the things that I saw in the state's intent to seek the death penalty, mentioning capital felony was committed during the commission of aggravated child abuse. The capital felony was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Do we or have we learned any more details about how he allegedly took her life? Because this description here of these aggravating factors seem to indicate that something really horrible was going on.
I do have some information from sources who have told me how they decided to seek the death penalty. We were expecting today that the state attorney's office was going to release about 1,000 pages worth of discovery, that information, what police have gathered and law enforcement has gathered that the state will use for this case to prosecute Stephan Stearns. We believe that they have determined that Madeline Soto was strangled and that it was the cause of death. We also believe that they have quite a bit of video evidence after the fact on that route from the house to where Madeline's body was found. In that discovery that we are expecting as early as, well, it's supposed to be today, as tomorrow, it will give us a lot more information about the pieces that were missing. There's a gap there, right, from when he reported her missing to when her body was found. We do not know what happened the night before. They believe that she was killed overnight before 7 o'clock in the morning, but we don't have those kinds of details. We are expecting those 1,000 pages will fill in some of those gaps for us.
Ken Jackson, that's such a big question here, right? The actual time of this murder, because it seemingly would impact Jen Soto as well, because she's on record saying that she saw her getting dressed that morning. She's on video, we saw her saying, oh no, she was wearing black shorts. Like, she knew what she was wearing that morning, is what she's telling investigators and police. So the time is extremely important. What questions do you have that you hope will be answered by the release of this information?
Well, Vinny, what we've received so far this week has been the list of the evidence. It is a long list. I wasn't aware it was going to be 1,000 pages, but okay. Something that I find interesting is that in the video that you showed in the lead up to this, there is the police body cam of Stephan Stearns talking about what sounded like an area of a residential area that he dropped Madeline off that Monday morning. All along, he's been saying he dropped her off at the church, which is just on the other side of the overpass from the school, where it appears that he is. I've driven that road a couple times since this investigation began. He's still about a half mile away from that church. So, this brings another kind of question as to what he said that they did that morning. I mean, this is a story that he's rehearsed a couple of times, but yeah, we still have a gap of from the birthday party Sunday night to Monday morning as far as when she actually passed away.
Judge, the law has changed in Florida for the death penalty. It's no longer unanimous down in Florida. So suddenly the road to death row has gotten a little bit easier for prosecutors.
You're exactly right. It was next to impossible to get a unanimous vote of death. That is very difficult to do. In my nearly 40 years as a prosecutor and a judge, I've only seen that happen in a couple of cases. But the state now has an easier road. And based upon the evidence that will come out, particularly with strangulation, it fits the definition of heinous, atrocious, and crew. And you lock in the fact of the aggravated child abuse, it is not looking very good for this defendant who is about to earn everything that he did in this particular case. The big question is, when will the mom step forward and tell the truth?
Yeah, and we have only about 20 seconds. Shannon Butler, I just wanted to finish with you. In this information that we expect to get tomorrow, do you anticipate learning a lot more about Jen Soto?
I don't. I think this is going to focus mostly on Stephan Stearns. I don't have a lot of confidence right now that they are targeting her. At least at this point, things can change. But from what I'm being told, it seems like this will focus solely on him, which just leaves more questions for us about what Jen knew or didn't know.
All right, big thank you, Judge Belvin Perry, Shannon Butler, WFTV, Ken Jackson, the Osceola News-Gazette. Great to see you all. Appreciate it. When we come back, we're going to talk more about all these developments in the Madeline Soto case. We'll bring in our think tank.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right from the mouth of the Honorable Judge Belvin Perry. It's now a little easier in Florida to get a defendant on death row. Which means right now, things are not looking good for one Stephan Stearns. I mean, come on. Considering everything you've been charged with, on top of the murder of Madeline Soto, he's charged with 8 counts of sexual battery of a child under the age of 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child aged 12 to 18, 7 counts of lewd and lascivious molestation, and a whopping 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child with 10 or more images. Guys, this guy is on his way to death row. We just need to go ahead and go through the formality of a trial. Find him guilty, and then boom. All it takes is 8 members of a jury of 12 to say, yeah, send him to death row. I know there's going to be more information coming in the next couple weeks, months regarding this case, and when it comes, you're getting it here first. Right now, we're gonna move onward. Ladies and gentlemen, this one we're gonna file under justice served. As you can see from the headline, a man who drugged his daughter and her friends at a sleepover has been sentenced. And this is right out of my neck of the woods. An Oregon man who drugged his daughter and her friends with fruit smoothies laced with a sleeping medication after they didn't go to bed during a sleepover was sentenced to 2 years in prison. Oh wow, that's all? Michael Mayden, a 57-year-old from the Portland suburb of Lake Oswego, apologized during his sentencing last Monday after pleading guilty to 3 felony counts of causing another person to ingest a controlled substance, according to the Oregonian. My whole life is destroyed, he told the court. Everything that was important to me up until that point is gone. He said he planned a fun sleepover last summer for his daughter and 3 of her friends, all then aged 12, but they didn't go to bed by 11 o'clock as he wanted. Mayden said he wanted them well rested for the next day, but he also wanted them to go to bed so he could sleep. Mayden laced fruit smoothies with a sleeping medication, authorities said. 2 of the friends drank the smoothies and eventually passed out. A third girl didn't want the drink and alerted a family friend by text message after she saw Mayden return to make sure the girls were asleep. He moved the arm of one girl and the body of another and put his finger under one's nose to see if she was asleep. The family friend picked up the girl and woke her parents, who then contacted the families of the other girls. The girls tested positive at a local hospital for benzodiazepine, used to treat insomnia and anxiety. Prosecutors said Mayden's daughter also tested positive. No decent parent feels the need to drug their own child and her friends, one of the girl's mothers told Mayden during sentencing. No decent parent feels the need to go down and confirm children are unconscious. And no decent parent puts their hands on drug and unconscious young girls without nefarious intent. 2 years for drugging girls at a sleepover because they didn't go to bed at the time he designated. I'd say justice served because he is going away for a while, but then again, I have to question it because of the length of time. Just 2 years? Moving quickly along here to our next story, we got a verdict watch in the case of Florida versus Wade Wilson in the Strangle Women murder trial. And I'm not gonna wait around. I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself, take myself out of the shot, and I'm gonna take you straight into the courtroom for the verdict.
The jury, my understanding is you have reached a verdict. All right, do you have the verdict form? All right, you pass that to the bailiff. Verdict form appears to be in order. I'll have the clerk publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial Circuit in and for Lee County, Florida, criminal action. State of Florida versus Wade Wilson. Case number 19 CF 0568. Verdict. We, the jury, finds as follow as to the defendant in this case. Count 1, first-degree murder, Christine Melton. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 2, grand theft motor vehicle. The defendant is guilty of grand theft motor vehicle. Count 3, battery. The defendant is guilty of battery. Count 4, first-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. The defendant is guilty of first-degree murder. Count 5, burglary of dwelling. The defendant is guilty of burglary of a dwelling. Count 6, first-degree petty theft. The defendant is guilty of first-degree petty theft. Dated 6/12/24, so say we all, 4-person.
Yep. Wade Wilson will face the death penalty after being convicted of murdering 2 women, among other charges. Last Wednesday, a jury found Wade Wilson guilty in the 2019 deaths of 35-year-old Christine Melton and 43-year-old Diane Ruiz. The penalty phase in Wilson's trial will begin Thursday, June 20. Melton was found dead In her Cape Coral home on October 7th, that same day, Ruiz vanished while walking to work. Her body was found 3 days later in a field behind a Sam's Club. In November 2019, Wilson was indicted on multiple charges, including 2 counts of first-degree premeditated murder. Prosecutors said Wilson strangled the women to death. At the time of the indictment, Wilson was already in custody on unrelated battery charges. He was hit with additional charges in October 2020 after he and another inmate allegedly tried to escape jail. While awaiting trial, Wilson contacted Scripps News Fort Myers multiple times. In 2020, he told them that he used to be connected to a high-level human trafficking ring and that he would groom women for them. Wilson claimed the group was framing him for the murders as punishment for trying to leave. In a pretrial motion, Wilson asked the court for facial makeup to cover up his tattoos that might be objectionable to members of the potential jury pool. The judge had granted his request. So roughly after 2 hours of deliberation, as you heard, the jury found Wade Wilson guilty of first-degree murder of Christine Melton, guilty of grand theft of a motor vehicle, guilty of battery upon Melissa Montanez, guilty of first-degree murder of Diane Ruiz, guilty of burglary of a dwelling, the home of Fanny Amlin, and guilty of first-degree petty theft, the property of Fanny Amlin in home. As again, the penalty phase will begin June 20th. All right, next up. A man who was convicted in Ohio family massacre wants a new trial. Ohio man convicted of helping his family plan and carry out the murders of 8 members of another family wants a new trial. George Wagner IV was convicted of 22 counts following a 3-month trial in 2022. He was given 8 life sentences and 121 years in prison for other charges. His mother and brother, Angela and Jake Wagner, pleaded guilty in 2021 and testified against George. His father, Billy Wagner, is awaiting trial. George still denies that he helped plan or participate in the murders, which stemmed from a custody dispute over Jake's daughter with his ex-girlfriend, Hannah Roden. She was shot to death in her bed with another child in her arms, her newborn daughter. The infant's life was spared, but Hannah's mother, Dana Roden, and her younger brother Chris were killed in the same home as Hannah. Hannah's father, Chris Roden, and his cousin, Gary Roden, were killed in another home. Hannah's older brother, Frankie, and his fiancée, Hannah Gilly, were killed in their home while their daughter's life was spared. Hannah's uncle, Kenneth Roden, was killed in his camper. Jake and Hannah's daughter was staying with the Wagners the night of the murders. Excuse me. In court documents filed Monday and obtained by Court TV, George's defense claims their client was denied a fair trial and prosecutors made several errors. The state made an inherently coercive deal with George's brother Jake Wagner and mother Angela Wagner, threatening to maintain pursuing the death penalty for them and their family members unless they gave testimony that the state believed to be true. It denied George the benefit of Jake and Angela's bargain for dismissal of capital specifications until the end of his trial. George's defense claims death-qualified jurors were picked because they were more likely to convict, even though it was expected that the death penalty would be removed because of the state's deal with Jake. During closing arguments, the state accused defense counsel of knowing that George was lying and coaching his testimony. 3 jurors had personal connections to the victims. Juror A-194 knew Chris Sr. and Dana before they were killed, and he equivocated on whether it would impact his deliberations. Juror A243 knew Hannah Mae, Frankie, and Little Chris from her time working at their school, and she admitted that the photos of their death could sway her. And juror A271 worked as a dispatcher for the ambulance company that received the initial emergency call on April 22nd, 2016. And she spent that day arranging the transport of the victim's infant children. In their brief, the defense also claims evidence presented at trial about prior crimes and guns not used in the killings only served to make George out to be just like his criminal family. Prosecutors have 60 days to respond to the filing, that's according to the Associated Press. So when that response comes in, I will be sure to bring that the result to you. Oh. In another update regarding the Stephan Stearns case, that'll soon go to court. If I can catch it. Oh yeah, this will take a while too, so I won't bother with the video. I'll just say this: there are hundreds of pages of investigative documents and reports into the disappearance and murder of Madeline Soto, are revealing the mountain of evidence police have gathered against her accused killer, Stephan Stearns. 13-year-old Madeline was reported missing on February 26, just one day after her birthday party. Her mother, Jennifer, told police that Stearns, her boyfriend, had taken the teenager to school that morning. But Madeline never made it to school, and police found her body in a wooded area days later on March 1st. Stearns was charged with her murder and additionally faces dozens of charges of sexual abuse for more than 1,500 disturbing images and videos of Madeline that were found on his phone. Court TV reviewed more than 800 pages of documents released by the Osceola and Orange County Sheriff's Offices, which offered more information not only about Stearns changing stories, but also about the physical evidence police found near the teenager's body. There's so much, like I said about another case, there was so much, there we go. There was so much to unpack in that it's not funny. But you gotta understand though, what Stephan Stearns is being charged with, or as Julie Grant would call him, Sicko Stearns. He's charged with, he's got 5 dozen sexual abuse charges against him, plus murder. And we heard earlier from retired Judge Belvin Perry that in Florida, you don't need 12 people to decide whether you're going to death row. You only need 8. Let this evidence come in his court case. Let that evidence come in, and it leads to a guilty verdict. All it takes is 8 people to say this man needs to be put to death. And I guarantee you, this man will be on his way to death row faster than I can hit a Dr. Dre line. Moving onward, we got another verdict watch here. This is the case of the Taken teen murder trial, Georgia versus former police officer Miles Bryant.
Ready? Good evening. Has the jury reached a verdict? Okay, if you'll hand it to my bailiff. All right. State of Georgia versus Miles Bryant. Indictment number 24B00156-4. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty. Count 3, kidnapping. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty. Count 4, criminal attempt to commit rape. We, the jury, found the defendant not guilty. Count 5, false report of a crime. We, the jury, found the defendant guilty. Signed June 12th, 2024 by the foreperson.
Oh, my bad, guys. I thought I was unmuted. Anyway, Miles Bryant found guilty of 4 of the 5 counts. He was acquitted of criminal attempt to commit rape. He was automatically sentenced immediately to life in prison without the possibility of parole. So we can go ahead and put that one in the box marked justice served. Now we're going to move on to a breakdown of a trial that's already underway, Nevada versus Pamela Bordeaux, the protective grandmother trial.
What do we got going on inside the house?
Control 652. We get a quick debrief from her before we send the team into the residence.
There's no one else in there that's armed. My daughter.
We got a daughter upstairs with a baby.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the only people in.
Yes.
Is Sean down?
Is Sean down?
Is he 419?
I don't know.
Does he appear like he's dead? Is he moving?
I don't think so.
Do you hear any moaning, anything like that? No?
No.
Okay. Is he holding the gun or is the gun near him?
It was my gun.
It was your gun. Where's it at?
You can advise.
Did you shoot him or did he shoot himself? Okay. Did you shoot him or did he shoot himself?
Action team ready to go.
Huh? You shot him.
That was body cam video showing the arrest of 60-year-old Pamela Bordeaux for the alleged murder of her ex-son-in-law in April of 2019. Now, this is Court TV's newest case, and we're calling it the protective grandmother murder trial. Bordeaux is a retired Las Vegas police detective. Now, the prosecution claims she executed her daughter's ex-husband, Sean Babbitt, while he was at the house for supervised child visitation. Bordeaux maintains that she acted in self-defense. Now, her daughter, who is Babbitt's ex-wife, took the stand for the state, and she testified about hearing gunshots.
You take your son back to the potty, is that right?
Yes.
And again, that's part of potty training. You're always taking your kids to make sure they don't have accidents. And does Ms. Bordeaux and Mr. Babbitt go with you to the bathroom area? So you go to the bathroom area and then believe what you say is the last time you see Sean is he's upstairs, at the stairs. Is that right?
I think he was at the stairs.
Yes. And again, you don't hear any argument. And is it fair to say that even before you get to the bathroom or that you get to the toilet area, you hear loud bangs?
I was in the bathroom, just not the toilet area.
And then you heard a bunch of loud bangs.
Several of, I don't know how many.
Right. And I think you told the police 2 to 3, and then said several.
Yeah, I don't know how many. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. And you had no idea what happened. You're upstairs with your 3-year-old son.
That's right.
It's fair to say it was a very scary situation.
It was.
Now, on cross-examination, she testified that she and Babbitt had discussed a reconciliation, but that he changed when he realized, that wouldn't be happening.
Is there some time when Sean stopped this idea of reconciliation in your mind?
When you stopped thinking that the reconciliation was possible, you're asking?
Yes.
Well, when I was visibly pregnant with my second child.
Is that when the flower stopped?
Yeah, it was the abrupt it was like a sudden shift in how he behaved.
And that was your opinion, your view of his demeanor was different.
Well, yes, and then he started posting things online.
Was his demeanor happier or angrier?
Angrier.
Now, Cornell also testified that her ex was preparing to fight for joint custody of their child at the time of the shooting. If convicted, Pamela Bordeaux faces life in prison.
Thanks to Michael Ayala, and I will be keeping tabs on this particular case, and we'll bring you verdict watches, the verdict as it comes in. And like Michael just said moments ago, that if Bordeaux is convicted, she could be facing life in prison. Next up, one of 2 abducted children is found dead after their mother is killed in Jackson, Mississippi. A Louisiana woman was found dead in her home last Thursday, and her 2 young daughters were abducted and found hours later in Mississippi. One dead, the other alive, according to police. A Louisiana resident who had dated the woman was arrested in Jackson, Mississippi in connection with the deaths and abduction, the investigators said. The Tangapoa Parish Sheriff's Office identified the suspect as 36-year-old Daniel Callahan. He had the victim's car along with her alive and well 6-year-old child, said Chief Deputy Jimmy Travis of the Tangapoa Parish Sheriff's Office in Louisiana. The body of the other child, a 4-year-old, was found near the car in a wooded area in Jackson, Travis said. Louisiana State Police issued an Amber Alert for the children after their mother, Callie Brunette, was found dead in her home in Laundrie, about 60 miles east of Baton Rouge. She had been reported missing after no one had spoken with her since Tuesday, Travis said. A cause of death was not immediately released. This was just an unspeakable crime. Sheriff Daniel Edwards said, "Our hearts and prayers go out to the victim's family. It was a horrendous tragedy." Jackson Police Chief Joseph Wade said officers contacted the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation's Human Trafficking Division about the case. He said small animal cages were discovered at the wooden area where the children were found. He tried to do away with the children by taking them into this wooden area, Wade said of the suspect, adding this was a horribly tragic situation that was committed by the actions of a coward. And I couldn't have said that any better. I couldn't have said that any better than that. 2021, Dale Warner is accused of murdering his wife. 2024, Dale Warner is about to stand trial for that murder. A judge ruled that Dale Warner will stand trial for the murder of his wife, Dee, more than 3 years after she disappeared. Dee Warner was last seen in April of 2021 near her home about an hour southwest of Detroit, near Tecumseh, Michigan. I'm pronouncing it correctly. Her body has never been found, and her family believes she was a victim of domestic abuse. Dale Warner, who has been locked up since November, has pleaded not guilty on charges of open murder and tampering with evidence. In the continuation of Dale Warner's preliminary hearing on June 7th, his defense attorney suggested Dee Warner may not have been murdered at all, pointing out that her body has never been found. But the judge ruled there was enough evidence to put Dale Warner on trial for her murder. That evidence includes extensive searches of the area, including Dee Warner's phone, bank, prescription records, and more. Michigan State Police detective testified at Warner's preliminary hearing about alarming text messages recovered, including Dee Warner threatening to move out and saying she thought Dale was going to kill her if she tried to leave him. It is also very clear that from the last time anyone has heard from Dee Warner was on April 24, 2021. Judge Anna Freshour said this, adding that authorities are continuing to investigate and search databases that could reveal information in the case. Dee Warner's family, including her brother Craig Hardy, believes her husband is responsible for Dee's disappearance, saying, quote, "He told us a story that just didn't square with me, and I met him in his own driveway and said, 'Dale, I know what you've done and I'm going to come after you.' And that's the last time I spoke to him." Dale Warner is due back in court on June 20th at 8:15 a.m. He is presumed innocent until proven otherwise. And the story that really broke my heart this week. Now, earlier I mentioned about parents and grandparents being charged with the disappearance of a missing infant. That missing infant was found decomposed underneath debris at the family's home. The search for a missing baby in Kentucky came to an end on this past Friday, when investigators found the remains of a child hidden inside the family's home. Investigators told WFIE they believe the decomposed remains found concealed in the home belonging to 8-month-old Maya Rudd. Kentucky State Police announced last week they were searching for the child, who had not been seen since late April. State Police said in a news release that they were unable to find Maya on June 6 when they did a welfare check in her home and arrested her parents, Tesla Tucker and Cage Rudd, on drug charges as well as abandonment of a minor. That same day, Ricky Smith, Maya's grandfather, was also arrested on similar charges. On June 9th, Maya's grandmother, Billy Rudd Smith, was arrested for unrelated charges when officers discovered that she had an outstanding warrant during their search for the infant. On June 12th, Tesla Tucker's parents, Talitha and David Tucker, were both taken into custody on unrelated warrants. When officers searched their home, they seized electronics but offered no further information about any possible connection to the search for Maya. 2 other men had been arrested in connection with the case. Timothy Roach, who was allegedly seen throwing unprescribed Suboxone under his vehicle in the driveway of Smith's home, and Brody Payne, who was allegedly living in the Rudd household for the last 6 months. Trooper Corey King, speaking to WFIE at the scene after the remains were found, said that the discovery was important not only for the investigation, but also for the people involved. I think for the family, as well as the community at large, this is the closure they need, King said. This was what we, as an investigative body, need as well to move forward. Under a pile of debris is where we, unfortunately, located the baby's body, King said. King said that when officers went inside the house, they encountered dangerous conditions and had to sterilize areas contaminated by residue and drugs in order to search thoroughly. Because the child's body was decomposed, King said the medical examiner would need to determine the cause of death. And to think, I've said this many times in cases like this, parents, grandparents, they had one job and they failed to do it. The end result? Toddler, first reported missing. Now the toddler is gone. I hope and I pray that these so-called parents and these so-called grandparents get the book thrown at them. All right. Now I go back to Julie Grant regarding, well, my first case in true crime. We're going right back to the boy in the box case, and we're going to talk about, she wants to talk about Tracy Ferreter She said that Tracy Ferreter's son will be traumatized in court again. That's if Tracy Ferreter decides to take her chances in a jury trial. Now, as I've set this up, 142. As you well know, if you remember the first Boy in the Box trial, Timothy Ferreter was convicted and sentenced to 5 years behind bars. Let's call it what it is, 5 years in a box. Timothy Ferreter is experiencing how he likes being treated the same way he had treated his adopted son. So now I'm going to take you to Julie Grant as she breaks down what could happen if Tracy Ferreter takes her chances in court.
Locked in a dark room alone for 18 hours. That's torture. It happened to a young teenager in Palm Beach County, Florida. The adopted son of Tim and Tracy Ferreter. Now, we saw Tim's trial together, complete with his wife Tracy's love and support. Now, Tim is a convicted felon, serving his 5-year-long prison sentence. Tracy is still cloaked in the presumption of innocence and will be in court today, my friends. Their boy was all alone in that, I call it a tomb, not a box. It's a tomb to me. He had nobody to talk to, not a sip of water for 12 hours straight, and only a bucket to relieve himself. That child had to have felt like he was being buried alive. Thank God he was able to run away, because if he hadn't escaped the torture and the terror, Tim and Tracy may never have been charged. So now the big question is, will Tracy's trial be much different from Tim's? So she's reportedly hired an expert witness that the first jury didn't hear from According to local affiliate CBS 12, this doctor will be reportedly testifying about the child's behavioral disorder and the Ferreter's struggles to control him. Okay, yes, that child did some bad things. Yes, he was bad. He was 13 years old and he acted bad. But he's a child. What he needed was proper teaching, mental health treatment for his struggles, and assistance from his parents in curtailing his bad behavior. He deserved love and respect. All children deserve that. And I hate that with the trials severed with Tim and Tracy Ferreter, the boy will have to testify again. And what really makes me sad is that he didn't even realize how badly he was victimized. He forgave his adoptive parents. But the law doesn't work that way. Nope. You break it, there are consequences. And no matter which way this case goes with Tracy's trial, I hope and I pray that that boy gets the love and the respect that he deserves going forward.
That's my prayer for him too, because no child deserves that kind of abuse. None. And speaking of children who are abused, there is one other child who deserves justice. And that is Madeline Sophia Soto. And yes, Julie Grant agrees with prosecutors seeking the death penalty against Stephan "Sicko" Stearns in Madeline Soto's death. And she's not the only one who agrees. So I've got one last statement from Julie left, and I'm gonna wrap this up in a nice tidy bow.
For my opening statement, I'm not always right, but I'm never wrong. My nana used to say that. It would make me laugh, and so now I say it from time to time. And I'm thinking about that this morning, and I'm gonna say it because, my friends, my prediction came true in the Florida case of a beautiful little angel named Madeline Soto. The man that investigators are accusing of sexually abusing her and then murdering her is Madeline's mother's boyfriend, Stephan Stearns, or Sicko Stearns, as I prefer to call him. I made a prediction that you might remember that prosecutors would, and now they have, filed their notice to seek the death penalty. And to that news, I say good. The state of Florida has cited 4 aggravating factors that it intends to prove in pursuing capital punishment for Stearns. One of them being that the capital felony was allegedly committed while Stearns was allegedly committing or attempting to commit aggravated child abuse. When I read that, my heart sank. We can only begin to imagine the pain that that precious child suffered at the time of her death. Because remember, my friends, the cause of death, it's sealed off in this case from public view. But looking at that aggravator that the state alleges, it paints a very sinister and sickening picture of what might have happened to 13-year-old Madeline. She deserved to be safe in her own home. That sweet girl was allegedly abused for months and months on end. And what's up with her mother? I've got to tell you, I am just as suspicious of her as I was of Sicko Stearns, the boyfriend, before he was hit with over 60 sex abuse-related charges and a first-degree murder charge. We know the mother lied about Madeline, about who dropped her off at school and when she last saw her. Did she know about the sex abuse that police say was going on underneath her roof with her boyfriend that she entrusted with her child? Maybe. We don't know. But what I do know is that Jennifer Soto had an obligation to keep her daughter safe and free from harm in her house. So if she did know, and if she did nothing to stop it, she should be charged too. Madeline Soto deserves justice.
Julie hit every point I was making, especially about Jennifer Soto. In fact, if there's one charge I would hit her with, take every last one of those sexual abuse charges for Sicko Stearns, give them to Jennifer with the word accessory to it. Take his murder charge, give it to Jennifer, and add accessories to it as well. Because she let it happen and did absolutely nothing. That's my added opinion to it. Alright guys, that's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Bethea'S Byte. Thanks so much for joining me. If you enjoyed it, the free way you can let me know this is by hitting the like button, sharing this video to your friends, and drop me a comment. Let me know what's on your mind in regard to a lot of these cases. Now that's the free way. I can always use the financial help to keep this thing going. So if you liked it, drop me a little something to my PayPal at EKB316, in my Cash App $EKB316, or my Venmo EB the Last Outlaw. If you still want to get in contact with me, that's not a problem either. I'm all over. I'm on Facebook at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. I'm on X, formerly known as Twitter, at EKB316. That's all caps. I'm here on YouTube at Bethea'S Byte Reloaded. I'm on Instagram at EKB316, but that's lowercase this time. I'm on TikTok at King of Hearts 316 2021. And you can email me. The address is kingofhearts316_09 at outlook.com. I look forward to hearing from you all. As always, this is the true crime destination. Drama free. This is true crime news without all the drama, where your opinions matter, lively debates are encouraged, your voice is heard, and above all else, justice served. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm Ernest Bethea, the Last Outlaw. Let's do this again this coming weekend. Until then, you all know what to do. Bite this. Thanks for watching and joining me here at the drama-free true crime destination. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and drop me a comment on this video. And be sure to follow Bethea'S Byte Reloaded all over social media. This is Bethea'S Byte, and it's reloaded.